recent NDAAs, it forbids the closure of the detention center at Guantanamo Bay and also bans the Pentagon from closing military bases it no longer wants. The compromise bill took out two key provisions which would have threatened the veto-proof majority it has, one aiming to require women to register for the draft, and another, the Russell Amendment, which would have allowed military contractors to discriminate against people on the basis of gender or sexual orientation. Surviving the final cut was a $160 million outlay to the U.S. State Department to identify and counter Russian propaganda. This program started with an eye towards bolstering independent, read pro-U.S., journalists in Eastern Europe, but has since centered around false Washington Post allegations that a large chunk of America's own independent media, including antiwar.com, are secretly in league with Russia. The bill now goes to the president for a signature, and while the White House has not taken a formal position, there appears to be no real question that he'll ultimately sign it rather than be overridden for a second time in his final year in office. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports Ronald Burt Smith, the man an Alabama jury recommended be sentenced to life in prison 22 years ago for the fatal shooting of a store clerk, was scheduled to be executed on Thursday until the U.S. Supreme Court said it needed more time to review the case. The court issued a temporary stay for Smith on Thursday night. Alabama is the only state in the United States in which a jury can decide to execute someone with a split vote. Alabama law also allows a judge to override the jury's recommendation. Smith's jury recommended he spend the rest of his life in prison with a vote of 7-5, but the trial judge overrode the recommendation and sentenced him to death. In January, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down a law in Florida that allowed judges, not juries, to designate death sentences for defendants in murder cases, citing a 2002 Supreme Court ruling that stated jurors have final say in death sentence cases tried by a jury. Alabama's judges are elected officials, and the Equal Justice Initiative argues judicial overrides increase during election years, suggesting some death sentences could be imposed not because of the facts related to the case, but because judges seek to display themselves as tough on crime during their re-election campaigns. In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake Security Company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. But at what cost? And can anyone stop him? Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports weather forecasters are sending chills down some spines with a prediction that much of the northern half of the United States could see frigid weather next week, similar to a life-threatening lows the polar vortex brought to parts of the country in 2014. The southward shift in the polar vortex in 2014 brought the Midwest some of its coldest weather in 2 decades. Icy conditions snarled travel, and thousands of flights were canceled or delayed. The coldest weather next week is expected in the Midwest and Northeast starting around Tuesday, according to forecasts that show temperatures in the single digits in some cities. It is unclear how far south the cold air will be felt. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
After the USDA unveiled its updated roommate food pyramid earlier this week, Department of Agriculture spokesman Michael Lowry spoke to Onion reporters about just how many servings of someone else's food roommates should be consuming on a day-to-day basis.
Under the new guidelines, roommates should eat at least 4 portions of someone else's grains per day, including 1 to 2 cups of already opened cereal. Of course, this is all in addition to the 8 to 16 swigs of milk and orange juice spaced out over a few days.
Lowry emphasized that many aspects of the new roommate food pyramid are unchanged from the previous version, including a recommended daily intake of 24 ounces of lunch meat straight from the bag and 5 to 7 weekly finger scoops of Erica's peanut butter.
Remember to limit your intake of sugar and sweets from half-open containers, especially if they're Jessica's, because she'll definitely notice.
For more on this story, check this week's Onion Review.
This is the Onion News Network. This is Free Talk Live, and you're invited to join us on the radio waves here. You can take control of the airwaves at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. With you in the studio tonight, it's Ian,
Vincent,
and Daryl.
Coming up, Bitcoin at its highest price since 2014. That's really good news for the amazing international cryptocurrency that has taken the world by storm. It is currently, as we speak, at $770 per Bitcoin. We'll talk more about the numbers and what they mean coming up here a little bit later. It's been a while since we've talked about Bitcoin. But first up, a disturbing privacy-related story, Daryl, that you brought in. Also, a Marxist restaurant closes its doors. All of that is on deck here tonight. Of course, you can take control of the airwaves. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733, or Skype into the show. It's Skype username LRN.FM, which is what AC has done in Ohio. AC, you're on Free Talk Live with Ian, Vincent, and Daryl.
Before I get to my point, I just wanted to say thank you, Daryl, for subscribing to my Wonderful World of James Whittakind channel.
I didn't realize I subscribed to it.
I'm sorry, not Daryl. Vincent.
Channel where?
it's on YouTube. Hey, you're welcome, man. You're doing God's work editing all those rants from like 3-hour-long videos.
Seriously, there are James Whittakind videos now on YouTube from his calls. Is that what they are?
Yeah, I've actually right now just done a bunch of his old, like his first calls into the show, and so I'll have those uploaded in a couple weeks or so because I'm really just. Yeah.
So you're basically as obsessed with James as he is with Free Talk Live?
No, I think he's hilarious. Yeah. And another thing, I was listening to, speaking of James, I was listening to your Off the Air Live from last Saturday, where you Ian, you asked James, how can you believe in God unless you've experienced him? And he called you stupid for it. I'm like, but that's exactly what Jesus taught. He said that right in the Bible, so I don't know how he can say that, showing you that James obviously hasn't read his own book.
That wouldn't surprise me.
That wouldn't surprise me from a guy with 3 DUIs who wants to nuke the Middle East.
Or maybe he drunkenly forgot that he read it. I mean, that's a possibility. It's hard to retain everything that you read. Yeah. So wait, what's the YouTube channel again?
The Wonderful World of James Whittakind. If you just type in James Whittakind, you'll find it instantly.
Okay.
Some of those are pretty funny. Like I was feeling really stressed out and depressed the other day, and then I like rewatched some of those videos, and I feel in such much a better mood.
I think somebody ought to give him a cheap video device or something like that, or maybe he's already got a smartphone. I mean, it would be interesting to have him turn a channel into like a James Whittakind actual rant channel, like typical vlog style.
Hold on. So maybe somebody could just have Dave in New York contact James and tell him what he uses to make his videos.
Yeah, because Dave in New York is pretty prolific. Now, we haven't heard from him in a while, but longtime listeners will remember Dave from New York. Apparently, he's been busy calling Chris Cantwell's show.
Oh, yeah, almost every day.
Yeah.
And making YouTube videos about how he's done looking for work, but then he's got a T-shirt that says, I'm desperately looking for work, call me, and it's got his telephone number on it.
Yeah, he sort of swings between making videos and deleting the videos.
Yeah,
so he's got
sort of a manic depressive sort of thing.
He's got a new batch up there. A few dozen are there, but at one time his YouTube channel, Dave in Hudson Valley Guy 1, I believe is the channel, on YouTube, had well over 1,200 videos on it, and then he wiped them all out, sadly.
And then somebody sent him presents, and he was actually opening
Ian sent him a
gifts.
present. Yeah, Ian Freeman sent him a gift.
Right, yeah, somebody sent him a black vibrator or something like that with my name on it. So anyway, now that we're completely distracted from the point of your call, AC, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about that
No
little detour. But Vincent, I wanted to talk to you about your support of the border wall, and some of the reasons you gave I thought were pretty interesting. Like you talked about the 2 big reasons that I if I remember correctly, were the welfare situation and dangerous drug dealers coming across the border.
It wasn't particularly drug dealers. It was just malicious individuals or terrorists.
Okay. Well, you do realize, and maybe this was brought up, realize that the reason why that's happening is because things the government themselves has done, right?
Oh, yeah. And sorry to interrupt. I've been doing some thinking, and I think it's always important to define terms. And when I say things like open borders, my main complaint is, both a catch and release program and also like the Dreamer program, where the government actually brings in people. So I'd be much less like, I probably wouldn't be as vehemently in support of Trump or a border wall if it was just people coming across, naturally or whatever. But what really got my attention to it was them actually the government using taxpayer money, actively bringing people into the country, unvetting them or bringing them in as a separate voter block to, gerrymander or whatever their
You
districts.
are aware that the catch and release program and the Dream program are not things where taxpayer money is being spent to go to Mexico and bring people across the border. It's programs where they're not deporting people.
Well, catch and release,
once they're here.
Catch and release. Yeah, I didn't. Oh, excuse me if I implied that taxpayer money was being used for that. But
well, you said the government is bringing people here under catch and release and Dream, and that's not what's happening.
I didn't say bringing people from catch and release. Excuse me. But from the way I consider, they're paying to house the people and bringing them buses. Some are private organizations, like the church is doing it, but that's just my main complaint.
Yeah. Well, your situation is very similar to another call that happened like back in January when Ian and Daryl on the show. There was a guy who called in who said he used to be for an open borders, but he changed his mind because he didn't want some of these like refugees coming in because he was afraid that some of them would be violent. And he said the reason why he didn't want, and the reason why he wanted the government to, create a police state was because the government had regulated his right out of owning a gun. So if some of them did become violent, he wouldn't be able to defend himself. And that's just very contradicting.
Well, you have to take that up with him. I mean, I didn't hear what the call. I had never called for. Sorry, go ahead.
That was another call. Another guy like from back in January brought that up, and you're sort of doing the same thing. I feel like you're saying, well, we have a problem that a lot of these people coming across are created by government problems, but yet you want the government to create another problem to solve other problems it's created.
Well, I wouldn't say it's creating another problem. Yeah, I will admit that in some cases, like in the heartland, when I say like in the U.S. borders, there is a police state with
that's a problem.
Civil asset forfeiture. But I guess
it's a problem.
One could describe me better as a minarchist, and I think that it's a matter of national security at one point. If you take a look at, and I'm not. I never had a right taken from me by the government, so I can't really compare it to that guy. But
You've never had a right taken from you by the government.
I'm talking in that taking in.
I was going to say, have you ever gone on an airplane?
Well, I'm talking about in regards to having my gun or permit taken away.
AC.
Well, I just feel that you seem to have more. It seems to be like your issue for wanting to build this border. Like another thing you said as well, because you were bringing up that one story about the guy who snuck across the border several times until he actually killed someone, which is a story that many anti-immigration people have been using to fearmonger about immigration.
Well, I wouldn't say it's not just that one. I actually did some research about this just the other week, and there's been around 100 catch and release program members. They committed either one murder or several murders, like 127 or something.
Okay. And well, I don't know. I just don't understand. There's violent people in the country right now, right?
Yeah. But I'm just saying
a lot of them work for the Border Patrol and the police departments.
We don't need any more violent people. If you take a look at, say, in Europe and I think in Bulgaria too, some doctors are saying that they want something done about their border situation because they're tired of seeing all of the violence that they have to take care of, like rape victims and such. And in Bulgaria, I'm sure there are rape victims, but if at this point you have a bunch of doctors in different associations coming together and saying something needs to be done, and take Rotterdam for instance, take the Cologne and I think it was just last year in Cologne, all that.
Are you talking about the reports on New Year's where they claimed that it was refugees, but it turned out that it was actually people that were there local?
Well,
none of the people involved were either from Syria or refugees into the country.
Well, I didn't see... many people didn't even report anything because they're afraid to report it, so I didn't see what you were talking about.
No, all of the media reports for several days.
More coming up, 8:55, 450 free. Thanks, AC, for the call. If you want to join us, talk to Vincent about immigration.
For P150, P150GA, P150NY, P150OK, P150TN, C250A, C250E, C250Q. Not available in all states. If New York or Colorado, call for a similar offer.
What's the scariest thing about going to the dentist? Opening your mouth or opening your wallet? Because just a simple cleaning can cost $100, and things like root canals can cost you hundreds more. If you don't have dental insurance to help, call Physicians Mutual Insurance Company, 1-800-656-4686. This isn't a discount plan or preventive-only coverage. This is real dental insurance that helps pay for checkups right away. So you can call today and get your teeth cleaned tomorrow. Plus, it helps cover the more expensive procedures you might need down the road. Fillings, crowns, bridges, even costly dentures. There's no deductible and no annual maximum. Your acceptance is guaranteed for one of these insurance policies, even if you're retired. There are no networks, so you can choose any dentist you'd like. Call now for a free information kit with all the details. 1-800-656-4686. That's 1-800-656-4686. 1-800-656-4686.
What would your life be like if you woke up each morning with new vitality, feeling better than you have in years, and you noticed a difference in your sleeping patterns, blood sugar levels, and had a sense of well-being overall? There's something that is changing thousands of people's lives, and you could be one of them. It's called Heart and Body Extract. Sharon Harris, co-creator of Heart and Body Extract, talks about the positive effects of Heart and Body Extract.
What happens with the formula Heart and Body Extract is it's giving the body the necessary vitamins, minerals, amino acids, enzymes, and phytonutrients so the body will heal itself. And yes, the body does have the ability to balance blood pressure, balance cholesterol, clean and unclog the arteries. It can also work on balancing the circulation for diabetics. So the body is an amazing thing. It simply needs some help so it has the tools to heal itself.
Heart and Body Extract gets results. To order your 2-month supply, call now, toll free at 866-295-5305. Order online at hbextract.com.
Are you making sense to the boomer mindset? I'm Holland Cook from survivalspeech.com. 80 million baby boomers comprise 25% of the population and control most of the USA's wealth. As aging parents pass on, they'll control more. Boomers are 46 to 65 years old and regard themselves as midlife. They identify as neither young nor old. They're post-minivan and pre-retirement, and they don't like being called boomers. They think me. Many of the purchases boomer couples make are individual purposes. They've been experimenters all their lives. If you want their attention, tell stories and keep it simple. If something seems complicated, boomers can dismiss it as, I don't need this. And if you're looking for work, you may be applying to a boomer, so relate accordingly. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. Facebook.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Dial in toll-free. Join us on the radio waves here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've also got Skype, and you can Skype into the show at username lrn.fm. Bring up whatever's on your mind. We're going to continue with your calls coming up here in moments. And first, I want to let you know about how to get 50% off from web hosting over at HostGator, one of the top hosting companies out there. They got a special deal for Free Talk Live listeners. Go to HostGator.com/FTL. That's HostGator.com/FTL. And you get 50% off their regular prices for however long of a term you initially sign up for. So if you sign up for a month, well, your discount's not going to last very long. But if you sign up for a year or 2 years or 3 years, then you get a sweet discount for quite a long time. And these guys have a 99.99% uptime rating, so they know what they're doing. They offer a simple one-click, easy installation for WordPress, 24/7 over the phone or live chat tech support, and a very intuitive and user-friendly control panel that puts the power of creation and the simplicity of use into your hands. So if you're a Free Talk Live listener, you get this deal 50% off by going to HostGator.com/FTL. As we continue here, we can talk more about the border in moments, because it's definitely a heated issue, and one on which there's some disagreement between the hosts who are in the studio here tonight. So I made a note, Vincent, about something that you said a moment ago. We can get back into that, but we've got folks waiting patiently to get on the lines here. So let's talk first to Patrick. He's in Arizona listening to K-Talks. Hey, Patrick. Patrick in Arizona.
In a while.
Hey there.
I just wanted to call up and wish you guys a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever it is for you.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. We will be here throughout the holidays, by the way. I'd just like to point that out. As is the case every year with Free Talk Live, we are live on Christmas, live on Christmas Eve, live on New Year's Eve, live New Year's Day. So throughout the holidays, we will be here providing you with live content.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I just wanted to give you an update. Things are starting to calm down here in a little bit with Arizona with the law enforcement. For a while there, for the week after, we had like 4-5 shootings where we actually had standoffs out here. But after last couple weeks, it's starting to finally calm down, thank God. I'll tell you, it's been frightening working some of these shifts. But I just wanted to let you know that. And also, too, since they legalized marijuana in California and Nevada, all they've been doing, and this is really weird, in the last 3 weeks, we've had close to $18 to $20 million worth of heroin and methamphetamine busts right on the border out here.
The border of Nevada or the border of Mexico?
Nevada and California coming in.
Wow.
Right here. It's like you said, they've really laid off on the marijuana. The marijuana, you get quite a bit of it, but in this particular case, it's been a lot of methamphetamines that are coming in. That there's alerts out for people, for us, we get our briefings and stuff to keep an eye out for that, because they feel that after the first, they're going to tighten down on the border.
Now, again, which border are we talking about here? Are we talking about the southern border? Are we talking about Nevada-California border?
Southern border.
Okay.
So they're bringing a lot of it. And it's funny, the last one that they did, it was $8 million worth of busts. It was all in lettuce boxes.
Interesting. And that was coming north across from Mexico?
Yeah, coming in from Mexico, and then they were coming in through Arizona to get on the main interstate.
Yeah.
And they were able to get it out. They were able to catch the truck driver, and the truck driver almost took a run. He almost jumped out of the vehicle and started running, but they had like 3 or 4 highway patrol that were in that particular area, and 2 of them pulled up on him, so he had nowhere to go. But, yeah, that's
well, they can tighten down on the border if they want to, but ultimately the drugs will continue to come through. I mean, look, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and they can afford to buy off some Border Patrol guards.
They can't even keep drugs out of prisons.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the only real solution is total legalization.
Why would you say that?
It's true.
You know how much the overtime is for prison officers having to do hospital duty? right now, and every time you put a prisoner in that hospital for a drug overdose or where he's locked up inside a hospital, you're taking 4 officers off of that prison and forcing 4 officers to work overtime on a daily basis.
I'm not sure what that has to do with what Daryl said. Daryl said you can't keep drugs out of. Daryl said you can't keep drugs out of prison, and you seem surprised by that.
Well, yeah, I'm quite surprised. I have a little bit of insight on that, but the fact is,
I used to work as a corrections officer 16 years ago, and there were some of the guards that were running There were guards running drugs for the inmates.
Of course, that's usually how the drugs get in. It's one of the guards.
So, I know a thing or two about this as well.
Oh, I know, and I respect your professionalism on that because, you know, I have quite a few years in the system myself. The biggest drug right now in prison that is causing a rampant and causing more hospitalization, you would think would be heroin, but it's not. It's spice.
Interesting. Patrick, thanks for your call, and happy holidays to you. I appreciate the call tonight.
Spice being the synthetic cannabinoids that would not exist if cannabis were not prohibited at the federal level.
Right, and there's a lot of people who will, who've spent time working in prisons or who've been in prisons who will say if they would just actually allow prisoners to smoke marijuana in prison, there probably would be less fighting and more peace among the inmates, the prisoners.
Yeah.
So, maybe someday it will be interesting now that we see cannabis legal in some places, especially for medicinal purposes. If some prisoners can get a prescription for medicinal cannabis at some point, that would be very interesting.
That would be interesting. And I wonder if there are any states that have prohibitions on, you can't have certain medicines while incarcerated.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if such a thing exists. And I was just thinking we were talking about MDMA on a recent episode of Free Talk Live and the new testing that the FDA has actually approved for what they call Phase 3. So they've done Phase 2 testing, now Phase 3. They're looking at MDMA as a possible solution to actually cure PTSD. I'm just imagining a whole cell block of inmates dosing on some MDMA and finding empathy for one another.
It's like that scene in The Men Who Stare at Goats via the military base scene.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a funny movie.
It's been a while since I've seen it.
They take LSD or something like that,
right? Oh, it was
right?
LSD, yeah.
But still, very funny.
The only thing I remember is the guy staring at the cloud for like half an hour before he finally made a decision, and then it was the wrong decision.
The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. We got plenty of time for you. If you want to join us here on the lines, take control of the airwaves here at 855-450-FREE. You can. This is Free Talk Live.
Did you know your car can be hacked just like your computer or phone? Hackers can hijack the signal of your own key fob to burglarize your vehicle in seconds. The Black Hole Faraday key fob bag is a signal impenetrable shield that stops these hacks in their tracks. Protect one of your most valuable assets. Go to hackproofbag.com. That's hackproofbag.com and use promo code RADIO to get 20% off. Or call 805-222-4584. 805-222-4584.
Attention citizens, this man has received national attention for accurately predicting every major financial trend, including the market crash of 2008. His name is Harry Dent, and in his newly released book, he is making even bigger and bolder predictions that have the potential to devastate the world economy and your personal wealth. You can get a free copy of Harry Dent's bestseller, The Sale of a Lifetime, containing never-before-published information by simply visiting www.saleofalifetime.com/free book. Again, that's saleofalifetime.com/free book.
Free Talk Live.
Your show is dangerous for people.
Yes, it is very dangerous for the state. It's dangerous for the status themselves. It's dangerous for the status quo, Bob, and it's dangerous because people like you who only want one particular message, and that is crack down, put all those people in jail. We need to bust the border up, and we need to hurt peaceful people. That's what your message is. Yours is the real dangerous message because you're the one who's advocating aggression against peaceful people. Don't you think that's shameful?
No, I think if it's against the law, you shouldn't be advocating against the law. I'm for the law.
Ding, ding.
And if you break the law,
Hey.
it's
In the 1860s, it was against the law for black people to escape from their masters. Do you think they should have been brought back?
No. Of course
Okay,
not.
you're a lawbreaker. The United States made it against the law for Indians to mix with white people. Do you think that that was a good law?
No.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
In Survivor Max 2, School Bites, Max must scavenge through a wasteland swarming with the undead. Desperate to find the medicine he needs, he discovers a community of survivors at his former school. Has he finally found the safe haven he's been looking for, or will he discover that school bites? Look for Survivor Max on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, and read Chapter 1 at SurvivorMax.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. Dial in toll free and join us here. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. With you tonight, it's Ian.
And Vincent.
And Daryl.
Also, of course, you can join us online. Go and get interactive over at freetalklive.com. We got a lot of features on our website, and we give them away to you. So do enjoy over at freetalklive.com. Also, healthcare's messed up in the United States, and yeah, the government's not going to solve that problem for you. So you got to take responsibility for your own healthcare, but that doesn't mean you have to buy health insurance. There's a free market healthcare company that can give you freedom from health insurance. In fact, they're called healthexcellenceselect.com, and they give you a proactive health assessment daily if you'd like, and a no-charge 24-hour access to doctors, including traditional, integrative, chiropractic, acupuncture, and massage, as well as a medical information card you can give to EMS, first responders, the emergency room, or whatever medical professional you want. You can check them out now at healthexcellenceselect.com. You'll love the service and the price at healthexcellenceselect.com. As we go to Dave, he's calling us from Colorado. Dave, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, you would usually refer to me as Dave in New Hampshire, but I'm visiting Colorado Springs at the moment.
That's right. That's where you're from originally, if I'm not mistaken.
Kind of. I grew up here.
Okay.
But I attempted to film an anti-Trump event here in town on December 3rd, and it was at a public library.
Mm-hmm.
The public library would not let me film it. They freaked when I filmed them telling me that, and of course I have all this on tape, and ultimately kicked me out of the library.
I just actually happened to watch this, I think, 2 nights ago on your YouTube channel, which is called Ridley Report, and it's not just your average librarians who kicked you out. They apparently have private security working at this public library there in Colorado Springs.
Yes, and the development that happened just hours ago is that they for the first time ever, I opened my email inbox and I saw a message from YouTube. The entire series is slated for possible deletion.
What?
There's been a complaint issued about the entire series, so all the different videos over the 30-minute period that I shot them.
What's the complaint?
Privacy?
They call it a privacy complaint.
Yeah.
And it's happened before, but never on this scale.
Yeah,
So,
this will happen
I
if somebody doesn't like the fact that they're in your video and they just send a report to YouTube and they'll pull down your video.
Can't you challenge that by saying this was a public event?
Yeah, I don't know. Can you, Dave?
I can. In the past, I've done different things. Sometimes I've responded to YouTube, and they've actually talked back to me, like a real person was talking to me. But they've never actually taken one of them down, to my knowledge. Maybe years ago, but none that I remember that they've ever taken down.
See, I've never been given a chance to respond, or at least if I have, I never knew about it. They pulled down some of the videos from that were featured in Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. One of them being the school videos where we're out in front of the middle school, high school, handing out flyers to students.
Sorry, I had this happen to one of my channels. We were doing, me and a certain online group, we were criticizing a certain individual, and we were using some of his clips in our videos, and he kept flagging it and getting taken down because he said it was his material.
Were you the one putting up the anti-Molyneux videos?
No, absolutely. No.
Okay, because there were people taking his clips and doing just that, and he filed the DMCA complaint.
No, this was someone else. I'm not going to say what because that'll open up a whole can of worms for me and to get in trouble. So this one, none of us would fight back. We'd all have copyright strikes. None of us cared to fight back because YouTube, they don't give the benefit of the doubt. They always just accept. They give the benefit
to the person who's making the accusation.
They give a benefit of a doubt to the accuser, and then none of us didn't want to go through the process except this one guy who did. This one brave guy who actually fought it for a few weeks, and he had the video put back up. And so,
I did that once too with the Bearcat video.
So
they tried to take that down.
You could do it; it's possible. It's just YouTube doesn't make it particularly easy, and their system is not pristine.
So Dave, what happens? They send you a notice saying your videos are under review. Are they still up while you have a chance to respond, or have they been temporarily removed from your channel?
In all three of the cases over the last year that I've experienced, they tell you that it'd be like you get 48 hours to do something about this. If you alter or take down the video, then no further action will be taken. I always leave the video up. In this case, I probably won't even answer them. I didn't answer them last time, and they've never taken any of mine down to my knowledge. The important thing here is what I want to do is make sure that I've at least done my duty, my due diligence to trigger the Barbra Streisand effect.
Yeah.
So I would like to urge people, please watch the videos and share them as you see fit. If you go to RidleyReport.com, they're the latest videos that are up, and they're hard to miss.
Now, I've seen the long-form ones. The first one that I saw was Library Security Calls Cops When I Try to Film Them, but actually it appears you uploaded one prior to that, which is Public Library Security Orders Me Not to Film. Was that like an edited version of the other three? Because since that one, you've released three sort of long-form unedited ones.
I'm putting everything up in the order that it happened, but 6 minutes at a time. I'm not going to upload the whole hour at once.
Then I haven't watched the first one, so I've seen three of the four. I didn't realize that the first one was also an unedited raw clip. So I'll have to check that one out.
I will probably upload the raw video and audio separately at the end of the whole business. But I want to, if you just throw it up there, people don't know what's going on, they don't know where you are, they don't know why you're there. They miss this or that. So some editing is required, even if I'm pretty much showing you everything that happened.
It's hilarious. I just want to encourage listeners to check this out. I would have posted it over at Free Keene, except for the fact that it didn't happen in New Hampshire. So it happened in Colorado Springs. But very, very funny stuff. You've got a couple of overweight security guards at this library who get very uppity and upset about you recording video in an ostensibly public place, this public library, of a meeting that was open to the public, an anti-Trump meeting that was supposedly something that you could attend. And they got in your face. They started to tell you weren't allowed to record. They then demanded that you call some agent to ask permission to record, which you seem to be willing to do, although you are not willing to turn your camera off during the time in which you are making that call.
Yeah, so while I'm following their orders and making the call, I'm doing everything they've asked except turn the camera off or down. And I did turn it. Actually, I guess I did sort of turn it down. But while I was doing that was when they decided to call police.
Right. Yeah, and then when the cops showed up, it was interesting too, because you had left the building because they asked you to leave. At one point, one of the what appears to be a head security agent comes over and he tells you that you're trespassing, and you respond to him like, "Well, you haven't asked me to leave. Are you asking me to leave?" And so the guy says, "Yes, I'm asking you to leave." And you're then like, "Okay, I got no problem with that." And then as you're leaving, they kind of in one of the more awkward scenes, and there have been a lot of awkward scenes in the history of the Ridley Report, but this is definitely one of the more awkward ones, where you're doing your kind of signature exit, where for those that aren't familiar with Dave, whenever he's asked to leave a place, he will comply, but he will comply slowly. And so he'll start slowly backing out as he's recording and, asking more questions of whoever it was that was giving him the order to leave. And these guys just start to kind of come in towards you, and they kind of follow you as you're walking out, and just the interactions between the three of you, it's just so awkward and so hilarious. And then as you're walking out, you ask them if when would you be welcome back? And they basically say, well, as long as you're not recording video, you can come back in. So you say, well, if I'm recording audio, it'd be all right. And they seem to be fine with that. Whereas normally people don't like it when you're recording audio of them as opposed to the video. And so then as soon as you exit the building, you turn your camera off, start your audio recording device, and walk right back in. Anyway, I just thought it was hilarious. So thanks for the entertainment. And there's more? All right, well, hang on. I want to hear that.
Well, yeah, one other development. Right. It's going to be a while before this comes up on the channel.
All right, stand by, Dave. You got time. Hang on. 855-450 free. More with Dave Ridley. He's on a little vacay, but he doesn't stop doing activism just because he's out of New Hampshire. So check him out over at Ridley Report on YouTube. And like he said, download these most recent 4 videos to help protect them against YouTube censorship. It's Free Talk Live.
Funny thing happens when you don't advertise. Nothing. Modern advertisers have been trained to look for trackability in their advertising, and web search ads are great for that. They also help you get the consumer that's looking for products like yours in the moment. But they're expensive, and they do nothing to convince people to try your product segment in the first place. If you're a local advertiser, contact this station. If you can use national exposure, Free Talk Live's on more than 150 stations, and we can help advertisers with little budgets and big ones. Send me an email, mark@freetalklive.com. It's mark@freetalklive.com.
You've said it yourself. We need a healthcare system that focuses on health, not sickness. Health insurance pays for treating sickness but gives you nothing for being healthy. There's a free market healthcare company that gives you freedom from health insurance. They give you a proactive health assessment daily, no charge 24-hour access to doctors. Check them out right now at healthexcellenceselect.com. Any kind of doctor, traditional, integrative, chiropractic, acupuncture, and massage. You'll love the service and price. healthexcellenceselect.com. healthexcellenceselect.com.
Dangerous blood clot device alert. If you or a loved one had an IVC filter placed to prevent blood clots from traveling to your heart or lungs and suffered an injury, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. The FDA warns that IVC filters may cause serious complications, such as heart or lung damage, internal bleeding, and even death. These dangerous blood clot devices can break, and the metal fragments can travel to your heart or lungs, causing serious injuries. If you or a loved one suffered organ damage or other injuries from an IVC filter, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Act now. Time is limited to file a claim. For a free consultation and free information, call Injury Help Desk at 800-478-1507. 800-478-1507. 800-478-1507. This is an advertisement. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. InjuryHelpDesk.com is responsible for this advertisement. Principal office, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Attention CPAP users, stop the insanity and torture of your CPAP mask. Don't you hate the skin irritation and terrible leaks? Jump on the CPAP Pro train, invented by an actual CPAP user that became so frustrated with CPAP masks. Are you ready to try something new? With absolutely no straps or headgear? Go to nomask.com and get the best night's sleep ever. Free to Medicare patients. Go to nomask.com. That's NOMASK.com.
If your home has hard water, then it's likely that limescale is clogging your pipes, damaging your appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars each year. You can eliminate limescale in the entire house with HydroCare products available at Wave Home Solutions. Easy and efficient with no maintenance, no salts, no chemicals, and no coils. And you can buy with confidence from Wave Home Solutions. Performance guaranteed. Just go to bestwater411.com. That's bestwater411.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
It's Free Talk Live. Dial toll-free. Take control of the airwaves here. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. As we continue, we'll take your calls and thoughts about what you want to discuss. With you in studio tonight, it's Ian.
It's Vincent.
And Daryl.
Let's go back to the phones and to the fun. Dave Ridley is with us. He is vacationing, seeing some family out in Colorado. But just because you're out in Colorado doesn't mean your activism stops. You went to a public library, or what was ostensibly a public library, and attempted to record an anti-Trump meeting that was scheduled to happen there. But before you could even begin, some security goons, private security hired by the library, came over and threatened you, demanding that you turn the camera off unless you had permission to record from some bureaucrat somewhere.
So I've actually got a question for you real quick, Dave, because I've not seen any of these videos.
Oh, they're so funny.
Is the event inside or outside of the library?
It's inside, but it's in a sort of mini auditorium that they have that is acoustically separated from the library. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, they've got places like that in the Keene Library.
Right.
Was the event open to the public, or was it considered a private event?
Well, I have a couple quotes from the organizers. They're an anti-Trump group, mostly Democrats. I did email them about this, and one of them wrote me back. He said, quote, "We were not aware of this issue with the venue, and I will get in contact with you directly," unquote. Right after that, my access to their page ended. I suddenly was no longer able to see their page, and I never did hear from them.
Wah, wah, wah.
But before that, I'm trying to look up the other quote, and that was where they said that all perspectives are welcome. I think that's an exact quote.
Okay, so it makes it sound like it's open to the public.
Yep.
Because if it would have been a private event, invite only, then I could see a justification for sorry you can't come in. But if it says everybody welcome.
Yeah. So what was the other development, Dave? You were about to tell us there before we had to go to break.
That was part of it, the fact that they had contacted me and I had contacted them, the organizers. And also there was a fact, I guess it's not so much a development as a historical note, that is, I have filmed in this library just last year. I was here in town about a year and a half ago, and I filmed a Democrat event there. The Democrats were pretty nice to me, even sounded kind of pro-freedom, if you can believe it, and no one interfered with me. So I don't know if there's been a rules change or whatnot, but some of the people on the YouTube channel who are commenting have started looking into what the rules actually are and that sort of thing. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, this seems like a clear violation of your freedom of the press. This was government property. You should have been able to record there, and it shouldn't have been an issue. The police should have, had they done the right thing, should have taken your side in this, but they did not. When the cops showed up, you had actually just gotten out into the parking lot. You'd gotten into your car and were pulling out as the cops were pulling into the parking lot. And there was some real tension in that scene, too, as we were watching it the other night. We were wondering, are they going to pull Ridley over? What's going to happen? Turns out they didn't pull you over. You were able to exit the parking lot and park your car. Then you come back around onto the sidewalk and wait for the cops to come out of the building after conducting whatever interviews they'd conducted inside. And you then shouted out to the police about, what the situation was and when you would be allowed back on the property. Are you banned forever? Are you banned for a year? And they said you could come back tomorrow. And when you confronted them about, them basically violating freedom of speech or freedom of the press, they didn't really have anything to say. They just kind of slinked off into their cruisers, and that was that.
It's like that episode of Sliders where they go into the alternate reality where the United States is run by Moscow and they get chased around Cleveland by the phone department.
It might be interesting. I know how long are you there for before you come back to New Hampshire?
Uncertain.
It might be interesting to follow up with the police department. Maybe go down there and see if you can talk to the police chief or somebody else and get some answers as to why the police are infringing upon press freedom.
Well, I wasn't planning on following up, but now that they've tried to take the videos, now that someone's tried to take the videos down, I'm going to take additional action of some sort.
Excellent.
Peaceable, constructive, but action. They won't like it.
And it will likely be entertaining. I look forward to seeing it. Dave, thanks for the call tonight. That's Dave Ridley from RidleyReport.com. And, of course, proud to be a longtime sponsor. Probably the longest time sponsor of the Ridley Report on behalf of Freak Keen and also LRN.FM. So, 855-450-FREE. That's our toll-free number here tonight. Kudos to Ridley for standing up for himself. I mean, the guy is such a hero because in situations like that, he's acting alone. He wasn't there with anybody else. It was just him and his video camera, and he stood up for the right of freedom of the press. When, they could have arrested him, and he would have had nobody there to back him up in that case. So let's go to Philip in Michigan. You're on Free Talk Live listening online. Go ahead, Philip.
Hey, can I make one quick comment about Ridley before I give him what I was going to say?
Of course.
Ridley, I've had videos taken down or copyright notice put against my videos on YouTube before. And what they've done to me the one time that it happened was they just said, okay, all the ad money for your video, we're going to take it and give it to the person that's making the assertion that it's their copyright.
Right.
They didn't take down the video. They just put the video up and said, any ad money that comes in, we're going to give it to them.
Demonetize.
Yeah, that's what happens when there's a copyright claim, but Ridley was talking about a privacy claim. Basically, it's someone claiming that essentially claiming that he's using their image without permission.
Sounds like fun. But anyways, what I was going to talk about was the other night I was listening to the podcast, and you had said that by getting a raise, someone might get bumped into a higher tax bracket, and therefore they would actually have a decrease in income.
I've heard of this.
That's typically not how the U.S. income tax system works. If you get bumped up to the next tax bracket, all your income up to that border is still charged at the old tax rate, and then any income above that border is charged at the new tax rate.
So a pay raise could bump you into a new tax bracket. You guys are just talking about it in two different manners.
But what he's saying is that it wouldn't. You're saying it wouldn't reduce the take-home pay the way that you're saying it's structured.
Under no circumstances does it reduce the take-home pay because you pay the old rate up to the border, and then anything over the border you pay the new rate.
It could. And there was actually an article that Chris Reitman, our Thursday co-host, shared earlier that I'll have to see if I can find.
Was it Thursday night?
No, he shared the article earlier today on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to have to see if I can find it to where it was talking about how some people could wind up actually being severely impacted by like $20,000 a year, getting a pay raise from $15 an hour to $18 an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be interested in reading. I'd be interested in reading that too. Of course, I'm in the AMP group, so I'd be interested in seeing something like that. But my understanding of the tax system, unfortunately, I've been paying taxes for years.
I'm sorry.
Is that you? Like I said, you make up to the point of the border there, you pay the old taxes, and anything over the border, you pay the new tax rate.
Okay. Yeah, I wonder why somebody would say otherwise. I mean, I had no reason to, I forget where I heard that, but I had no reason to disbelieve the individual. Maybe they misunderstood, or maybe the accounting department at the place where they work miscalculated, or something like that. Maybe that was what
you can look up the IRS's own guidelines. Just look up IRS tax bracket.
I'll pass on that. But thanks for the recommendation. Anything else, Philip?
No, that's it. Have a good
Thanks
evening,
for the
guys.
call, man. I appreciate that.
Sort of like that with Social Security. If you turn 66 and you continue working for whatever reason, and they deem you're making too much money working, they'll ask you to give some of that Social Security back. So it just disincentivizes working.
Charlie's with us, listening in Arizona to K-Talks. Go ahead, Charlie.
Hi, guys. I just needed to call in and offer my apology on my comment of Phoenix being the armpit of Arizona. Although I've spent a lot of time down there, it's been a number of years, and it was totally unfair for me to make that.
Hold on. I'm going to play devil's advocate here and support your claim. Armpits are, hot and sweaty. It gets really hot in Phoenix, and thus people sweat a lot, so therefore Phoenix is hot and sweaty, so it could be like an armpit to Arizona.
Well, that wasn't quite my thoughts on the matter, but like I say, it was an unfair comment, and I do apologize. Although you got to remember, Phoenix, encompasses the surrounding communities, and it's a very metro place, and I am quite averse to large cities.
I don't blame you, Charlie. I don't want to live there either. Thanks for the call tonight. I appreciate it. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. We got plenty more time for you coming up. Free Talk Live. What do you shop for that you could otherwise buy at Amazon? Pretty much everything, right? Amazon has competitive pricing and they deliver, and that's a big plus. If you could plan ahead in your shopping, would you be interested in saving up to 33%? There's a catch. You have to do your shopping in Bitcoin. But imagine those savings. It's like a huge raise. All you have to do is go to SaveItPurse.com. We've saved thousands, and you can too. Plan ahead and save. SaveItPurse.com.
You want disruption? You got disruption. Cell 411, the world's most disruptive and empowering app, knows you want ride sharing with payment options for cash, Bitcoin, silver, and barter, as well as credit cards. And they know you want more than promises. Cell 411 delivers. The same great emergency management app, now with ride sharing. Freedom to travel is a right. You don't need big business telling you how to do it and taking fees. Go to the App Store now and download Cell 411 and get riding.
This is your Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Friday, gold is $3 lower at $1,167 per ounce, and silver is 6 cents higher at $17.10 per ounce. Bitcoin is currently trading at $771 US. Consider giving the gift of silver. It never wears out, always has value, and they will always remember who gave it to them. For a variety of options, call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
You may already know about the Free Talk Live audio-on-demand phone line at 641-793-9660. Did you know that not only can you listen to Free Talk Live via your phone, you can also leave a message and have it delivered to Free Talk Live's hosts? To leave us your thoughts, just dial 641-793-9660. That's 641-793-9660. Press 2 for Free Talk Live, and then hit 0 to leave your message.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keenan, the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Friday, December 9th, 2016. Silver is trading at $17.05 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,167 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 1 cent, and the average price of Bitcoin is $777. Antiwar.com reports following a vote in the U.S. House of Representatives, the U.S. Senate voted 92-7 on Thursday to pass the 2017 National Defense Authorization Act, the main military spending bill for the next year. This is a compromise version of the bill, which only includes funding for the wars for the early part of 2017, with the assumption that an emergency bill will be passed in early 2017 to pay for the rest of it. This allows Congress to falsely claim that they're only increasing military spending by a few $billion over last year, when in practice the total of all of the bills will be a much bigger increase. As with most recent NDAAs, it forbids the closure of the detention center at Guantanamo Bay and also bans the Pentagon from closing military bases it no longer wants. The compromise bill took out two key provisions which would have threatened the veto-proof majority it has, one aiming to require women to register for the draft, and another, the Russell Amendment, which would have allowed military contractors to discriminate against people on the basis of gender or sexual orientation. Surviving the final cut was a $160 million outlay to the U.S. State Department to identify and counter Russian propaganda. This program started with an eye towards bolstering independent, read pro-U.S. journalists in Eastern Europe, but has since centered around false Washington Post allegations that a large chunk of America's own independent media, including Antiwar.com, are secretly in league with Russia. The bill now goes to the president for a signature, and while the White House has not taken a formal position, there appears to be no real question that he'll ultimately sign it rather than be overridden for a second time in his final year in office. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports Ronald Burt Smith, a man an Alabama jury recommended be sentenced to life in prison 22 years ago for the fatal shooting of a store clerk, was scheduled to be executed on Thursday until the U.S. Supreme Court said it needed more time to review the case. The court issued a temporary stay for Smith on Thursday night. Alabama is the only state in the United States in which a jury can decide to execute someone with a split vote. Alabama law also allows a judge to override the jury's recommendation. Smith's jury recommended he spend the rest of his life in prison with a vote of 7-5, but the trial judge overrode the recommendation and sentenced him to death. In January, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down a law in Florida that allowed judges, not juries, to designate death sentences for defendants in murder cases, citing a 2002 Supreme Court ruling that stated jurors have final say in death sentence cases tried by a jury. Alabama's judges are elected officials, and the Equal Justice Initiative argues judicial overrides increase during election years, suggesting some death sentences could be imposed not because of the facts related to the case, but because judges seek to display themselves as tough on crime during their re-election campaigns. In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake Security Company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. But at what cost? And can anyone stop him? Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports weather forecasters are sending chills down some spines with a prediction that much of the northern half of the United States could see frigid weather next week, similar to a life-threatening lows the polar vortex brought to parts of the country in 2014. The southward shift in the polar vortex in 2014 brought the Midwest some of its coldest weather in 2 decades. Icy conditions snarled travel, and thousands of flights were canceled or delayed. The coldest weather next week is expected in the Midwest and Northeast starting around Tuesday, according to forecasts that show temperatures in the single digits in some cities. It is unclear how far south the cold air will be felt. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
A new report from the National Center for Education shows that an alarming 10% of U.S. high school students graduate without basic object permanence skills. According to the study, a growing number of American seniors are lagging behind their international counterparts when it comes to the crucial knowledge that things don't just disappear if you're not looking at them.
Because it exists even if your eyes can't see it. Am I making sense?
No. U.S. high schoolers have dropped to 17th in science, 25th in math, and a troubling 180th place in the basic cognitive awareness most humans develop as toddlers. Secretary of Education Arne Duncan is asking Congress to fund increased after-school disguise and reveal programs.
It's time to get the kids excited to learn the most obvious mental concepts that make us capable of functioning.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to do better. It's just I don't know how I'm supposed to learn anything if I don't even have a teacher.
I'm still here, Vanessa.
Some educators worry that too much focus placed on object permanence might take away from other important skills, such as not touching hot things that could burn you.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. Dial toll free here. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We do have Skype as well. The Skype username is LRN.FM. With you in the studio tonight is Ian.
It's Vincent.
And Daryl.
Of course, we'll take your phone calls about what you want. We actually had almost wall-to-wall phone calls in the first hour, but the lines are cleared out, so that means we got room for you. So feel free to dial in and join us here. 855-450-FREE. To just come back around to a discussion we were having before we get back into, or we get into Daryl's story about, let's see, we were going to talk
privacy.
Yeah,
the Alexa one.
Yeah. So there's some disturbing privacy news. We haven't even really gotten into that at all. But our first caller had called in about the border wall, and I thought there was some. I felt like there were some areas that we still needed to focus in on that. And Vincent, you had made some sort of comment because you're the person on the show here tonight who you kind of support the idea of border enforcement.
Yes.
You have admitted that you wouldn't be as in favor of border enforcement in a world without, say, a welfare system.
Yeah, I'd not be as stringent on it. Yeah,
right. And so you currently support it, given the way things are. You feel as though something needs to be done to stop violent people from coming in to the United States. Is that right?
Yeah, and I understand the moral arguments as to why I might be a hypocrite for supporting that. Yeah.
So, how far are you willing to go in order to have the government try to stop violence?
How far am I willing to go? Yeah, that's a difficult question.
How about
give me some examples.
How about random bag checks on subway systems?
So no, unless
no.
Well, I was going to say the whole probable cause thing, but I don't want to get into that slippery slope.
Well, there was somebody that had a bomb inside a bag one time, so therefore every bag could have a bomb in it.
Well, what if there's a bomb threat? I mean, then there's a chance that somebody could be bringing a bomb in there because somebody called in a threat.
Well, then you just close down the entire subway.
Well, they didn't do that
recently.
Because
you might have a stupid kid call up and do that. That's happened at several schools here in New Hampshire. Some kid calls up and they don't want to do their homework or a test that day, and
they'll get evacuated.
And there's no credible thing. I remember in California, so a kid sent an email and they pretended to be an Islamic terrorist, and they sent it to the police and FBI, and they said this probably isn't really a real threat. It's a joke because they didn't capitalize Allah, and they made a lot of different mistakes. But they closed the entire school system down, and they lost thousands of dollars worth maintenance fees, and just because some stupid kid. So.
So here's what happened recently in Los Angeles. According to the LA Times, investigators have found no evidence to corroborate a warning of a terrorist plot to bomb the Universal City Metro station, diffusing fears of an imminent attack in the heart of Los Angeles' sprawling public transit system, according to government spokespeople on Tuesday. Federal investigators determined the warning of a bombing called in on a tip line in Australia was not a credible threat. Law enforcement officials suspect the anonymous caller may have previously made threats that did not materialize, according to the FBI. Investigators were working to identify the anonymous caller, and FBI officials noted that those who provide false threats to police face prosecution. The bomb threat had put Metro Red Line riders on high alert after law enforcement officials released information about the potential attack on Monday night. Tuesday, commuters were met by heavily armed deputies, dogs, and bag searches, part of increased security visible across the Los Angeles County Transit System. And I've got a picture here from Al Sieb at the Los Angeles Times showing, what appear to be two military soldiers standing outside of a bus stop, or the Red Line entrance there in Los Angeles. One of them appears to have some sort of a machine gun-looking
M4. What's
rifle.
an M4 going to do against a bomb?
Well, he's going to shoot a terrorist if he sees the terrorist, supposedly.
Oh, you need a machine gun to do that.
He's got a helmet on. He's got, looks like some sort of battle cam, perhaps, mounted to the helmet. He's got, I wouldn't call these fatigues, but he's definitely got, kind of military style.
Olive drab.
Yeah, there you go, olive drab. And he's got the goggles or glasses on. He's got a little microphone coming down. I mean, he looks like he's ready for combat. I mean, this guy's in a combat zone. He's got a pistol strapped to the side of his leg and, various other detritus attached to him. He's standing next to another man with a similar getup. However, if he has a rifle, it must be slung because I don't see it in the other man's hands.
Looks like a scene out of you guys remember the Boston bombing, right? When they put in the entire some suburbs under martial law. Yeah,
and they brought out the Bearcats, the armored personnel carriers, and the tanks. So, I mean, I guess I'm wondering, Vincent, is this acceptable to you? Seeing a scene like this, having something like this become a regular occurrence, or even an irregular occurrence as they currently are, is this something you want to see in the United States?
See, that noise in the background. Seeing that, particularly the olive drab, the military fatigues and everything, I think that is a step far. I think that is somewhat of a statement. I will agree. Yeah, that is that's unnecessary. The dogs, I do think, are necessary because those dogs are trained to sniff out bombs in the event that there is an explosive. But yeah, I disagree with the whole Bearcat thing and having militarized police. But I will say having a presence there with the dogs and just having regular deputies there. I do think that is, necessary.
If a dog comes up and sniffs you as you're walking into the train station, a dog sniffs you out, then the cops say, "All right, buddy, we're gonna need to search you." You okay with that?
I'm not entirely sure how bomb sniffing dogs work. If they just
you don't know if it's a bomb sniffing dog. How do you know it's not a drug sniffing dog? How do you know it's?
But even the bomb sniffing dogs, if you've gone golfing within the past couple of days, the bomb-sniffing dog is going to think you've got explosives.
Why?
Because they use fertilizer at the golf course, and fertilizer is often used in homemade bombs. So therefore, if the dog smells fertilizer...
Is that true, though? I mean, that's really happened to somebody?
There have been people... I used to work for an airline in a resort town, and they had to remove the little hand swab thing for testing bombs because so many people were getting false positives.
Oh, my God.
Because people were going to play golf. And you're hitting your balls, and you're bending down and picking up your ball, and you're getting the fertilizer.
Wow.
So you're going to have a false positive. So they had to stop doing the hand swab test.
At Universal City Station, a sign warned riders that they would not be allowed to use the Red Line subway system to downtown L.A. without their bags being searched. So there was, apparently the probable cause to search every single person's bags on this particular portion of the Red Line was an anonymous call to an Australian police department claiming that there was going to be a bomb on the Red Line. That's all they needed to search everyone's bags. Do you support it?
No, I'll say in that case that's overt. I think one instance of that's more moderate would be how in Israel they have profilers there. And I understand, no matter what, in terms of security, it's going to be controversial. But I think, in this case, obviously this is overt. And, this is probably a bad example. As it's not a good example of good security. But I think in some cases, if there is a crisis, if there's a danger, I think in some cases it would be okay to have, bomb-sniffing dogs. And if they do sniff a bag, to check it. Obviously, don't shoot the person immediately, but
I've got privacy rights. I don't want to let you search my bag just because a dog has sniffed it out.
Well, if there's an idea of a danger, I mean, you could say, are they
going to let me turn around and walk away?
Fourth Amendment just totally gets repealed because there's, we think something's going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if this happens every day, but mind you, the Constitution is not the noose that you hang yourself with. I'm not saying it's okay to violate. I'm just saying in some cases, That's why they have a whole probable cause in it. So in
yeah,
some
but we're
cases,
not talking
yeah,
about probable cause here. We're talking about an anonymous tip.
Oh, in this case, yeah, as I said, in this case, there have been other cases.
But that's the thing. You don't get to decide. Okay, you're not going to be in charge of when the bureaucrats get to do this stuff and when they don't. They're going to err on the side of doing this because they're going to get away with it time and time again until somebody can mount some kind of legal challenge that can, somehow put a stop to this. And now, whether that's going to happen or not, I don't know. I don't know if the ACLU or whoever can do something about this, or if we're just too far down the road to a police state to where this is just a normal sort of way that things happen these days, and it's just going to keep getting worse because now all they need to have is the fear that something might happen, and they can search everyone's bags, and they can post men with machine guns around. I don't know about you, but that's not the kind of place I want to live. Yeah. That doesn't make me feel secure at all.
I read something a couple days ago that the entire state of Michigan is now a border zone because of being so close to Canada.
855-450-FREE. That allows you to take control of the airwaves here on Free Talk Live.
Thanks for calling Soma Biotics. Are you calling for a free trial of our belly flattening breakthrough?
Actually, I already got the free trial. It totally flattened my belly.
Wow, that's great news.
But now I have a problem I never thought I'd have. My belly just keeps getting flatter. I mean, I don't want to look like a runway model, but I don't want to stop taking Soma Biotics either. Because seriously, I've never looked this good.
Well, here's one thing you can do. Only take Soma Biotics every other day. That'll keep up your results without making your belly too flat. And if you ever need to ramp up your belly flattening results again, just go back to taking it every day.
To get your free trial of Soma Biotics, call 1-800-961-5687. You're going to love how you look. And if your belly flattening results are too dramatic, simply reduce use to every other day. But hurry and call now for details while they're still giving it away for free. Call 1-800-961-5687. That's 1-800-961-5687. 1-800-961-5687.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? I'm Jim O'Connor, independent life insurance agent specializing in term life insurance. There's been a price war between the major life insurance companies. If you've had your term life policy more than 2 years, you may be paying too much. For example, a male age 45, non-tobacco user issue preferred best, $1 million of coverage is only $56 a month guaranteed level for 10 years. Or a male age 50, non-tobacco user issue preferred best, $500,000 of coverage is only $91 a month guaranteed level for 20 years. The life insurance industry is going through exciting changes. Make sure you're not paying too much for your term insurance. For new or replacement term life insurance, call for a free quote. 800-799-0903. That's 800-799-0903. Don't pay too much for your term insurance. Call 800-799-0903 or visit my website at term22.com. That's term22.com. Rates based on standard underwriting and may vary by state.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. Ross Ulbricht was convicted in early 2015 of running the infamous Silk Road Underground Market. The Silk Road was a gift to humanity and helped reduce the harms brought on by drug prohibition. For this good deed, Ross has been sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Now, an appeal is Ross's only chance, and he needs your support. Please visit freeross.org, where you can contribute via various methods, including Bitcoin. Visit freeross.org. That's freeross.org.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. You may dial toll-free. Take control of the airwaves here. Our number, 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. If you want to reach people with the ideas of liberty, one of the ways you can do it is from the back of your car. It's pretty effective. If you drive a lot, you can reach thousands of people with a bumper sticker, and you know that people love to read them. You can check out the vast selection of witty, poignant, pithy, and downright bombastic, liberty-oriented messages that you can adhere to your vehicle or other things like I like them on my laptop too. LibertyStickers.com. You go there and you can order as many as you like. You can also get custom stickers done from LibertyStickers.com. As we continue in studio, it's Ian.
It's Vincent.
And Daryl.
Let's go to your calls and thoughts. Sarah is in Albuquerque. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Sarah.
Well, you heard that we had 50 cars piled up on Ohio and 40 cars piled up in Minnesota. So it was 90 cars piled up in one day because of the snowstorm.
Now, aren't you in
just
Albuquerque?
Bad snow.
We
just need to ban snow.
All right, wait, aren't you in Albuquerque?
Yes.
How did you say we had cars piled up in Ohio? You weren't in the pileup, right?
No, but
I wasn't there. I'm here in Keene, New Hampshire.
Yeah, but something. Well, that could be a snowstorm in Albuquerque, and we're going to have a 50 car piled up. I just feel that.
Okay, so here's the thing, Sarah. Here's the thing. When it starts snowing, if you're not sure of your driving abilities, stay off the road.
She doesn't drive. It's okay.
I know she doesn't, but somebody named Sarah might be listening that might need this advice.
She could also stay off the road because she's a pedestrian and she wouldn't want to get hit by someone who doesn't know how to drive.
It's a public service announcement from Daryl.
Public service announcement: if it starts snowing and the snow trucks aren't out yet, unless you absolutely have to be on the road to try to get home, you should avoid the roads at all costs. Slow your speed down. I've seen people here in New Hampshire where they've had one lane plowed and the other lane on the state highway where it's 2 lanes going each way. One lane's plowed, the other one's not. And I'm going, like 25 or 30 miles an hour, being safe. I've had people just whip into the other lane,
the
and
unplowed
pass
lane.
me. The unplowed lane.
Wow.
Don't do that. That's how
crazy.
you wind up with 50 car pileups.
Yeah.
So don't drive. The speed limit might be 50. Don't drive 50 when the weather conditions are bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they do all they do is do 70, 75 miles an hour.
Bad idea.
But my thing is,
were you there in Ohio? Do you know that they were going 70 miles an hour, or are you just making stuff up again?
Well, I mean, that's what they all do.
Have you ever seen snow?
Have you ever been to Ohio?
No, but my point is that
you don't know the facts of what caused the 40 or the 50 car pileup. You're just making stuff up. I've got a question for you, Sarah.
Okay.
Have you heard about the Marxist communist restaurant in Grand Rapids, Michigan that closed down?
No, I have never heard of such a thing in my life.
Yeah, you're familiar with Marxism, to where everything is owned by the collective, to where
it's like communism.
Everybody makes the same amount. The guy washing dishes makes the same as the manager, that makes the same as the server, that makes the same as the cooks, and everything's a group decision. And there was a restaurant, and I'm surprised it lasted 5 years. But it just closed down. It was the Bartertown Diner. It closed down because, people stopped going there because it took 40 minutes to get a sandwich.
That's not an exaggeration.
That's not an exaggeration. And they didn't have regular hours because everything was decided by group opinion. So they would decide the day before what time they would open the next day.
Oh, God.
So that is kind of very interesting. I mean, but there's an effort. I mean, I don't know, but it's a good effort. You know what I mean? I mean, they practiced it.
They tried, and they failed.
Effort doesn't count when it comes to business. If your effort isn't good enough, if your product, if your service isn't good enough, then you're not going to be able to outcompete the existing businesses and get business. So, it's nice that they tried it. Good for them.
They got the crusty seal of approval. It's not just good. It's good enough.
But, effort in the end did not do them, enough service to actually, bear fruit.
Well, you see, it wasn't real communism. They have to try it again. That wasn't real. Next time, someone will do it real communism.
And they also had a mural of Che Guevara and Mao Zedong and other provocative leaders painted inside the building.
Sarah, those are your heroes, right? Che, Mao, Chairman Mao, murderers like that?
Well, I guess so. I heard about Che,
Did you hear about the murders that he had committed in his name? How about?
No, she heard about the T-shirt that he's on.
Yeah.
Well, I heard about that, but something. But do you think there's an effort? There's a law in Oregon right now that they're going to ban the CEO making 1,000 times what the regular workers make, and that's a form of communism to make the salary more equal. If they could make 100 times, maybe 50 times more, not 1,000 times more than a regular average worker. And they're going to really strive to make it pretty much equal. And I think that's a good effort.
So you want to force companies by the threat of violence to pay their CEOs less, is what you're saying?
Well, I mean, how much violence do you think you could make in Oregon? It's
No.
It's going to be in America.
You don't even understand what I said. You want to force companies by the threat of violence, meaning if I'm the CEO of some company in Oregon and I've been paid 1,000 times more than the employees, then the law is going to pass where it says I can only make 50 times what the average employee makes. I'm going to be taking a huge pay cut unless I decide, you know what, I think I can still make 1,000 times because I'm going to ignore this law. And then what's going to happen?
Just move our headquarters from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, Washington.
No, but let's say I like it in Portland, Oregon, and I want to stay right there, and I want to keep my 1,000 times the average.
See, you stay, but we move the. I'm using.
I'm not looking to
here.
run from this. I want Sarah to see what happens when the CEO decides to continue getting paid 1,000 times as much. What do you think the government will do to that person, Sarah?
Well, I don't. Maybe a penalty. I do not know what they're going to do.
Penalty of we will come take your money or we will throw you in jail. That involves police pointing guns at somebody to get them to comply.
Right. That is
violence.
Every law is backed by the threat of violence. Everything. So as nice as you think of an idea that is, it's not nice when you threaten people with a gun, is it?
No, but is it fair that Exxon makes like $100 billion?
Don't buy their oil. If you don't support what they're paying their CEO, then don't do business with them. That's the fair way to handle things in the marketplace that you don't like. Thanks for the call, Sarah.
And one thing that I think is interesting, and I'm sure Sarah's probably seen this floating around to where people will say the CEO of this company makes, X $1 million a year, which equals this much per hour. And I've actually done the math on some of these businesses to where if you took every dime that the CEO made and divvied it up equally to all of the employees, on average you would get like a 20% or 20 cent
per hour.
20 cents per hour pay raise.
Yeah. Not much.
Yeah.
And the argument for the CEOs getting a lot of money is that they wouldn't be able to attract talented CEOs without giving them a lot of money.
Correct.
The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. You can share your thoughts on that, though, if you'd like. It's Free Talk Live.
Don't know what contaminants are lurking in your water? Time to get a ProPure. Take advantage of ProPure's holiday sale. Save 25% on all ProPure water filter products. Sales good through December 31st. There's a ProPure water filter for you. Visit your authorized ProPure dealer for details or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com.
If you or someone you care about loves outdoor adventure, then check out slingbow.com for some unique holiday gift ideas. That's slingbow.com, where we have some innovative new products for the archer, hunter, or bow fishing enthusiast in your family. Now through January, use the promo code HOLIDAY to get free shipping in the U.S. or Canada. And from all of us at Slingbow Industries, have a safe, joyous, and peaceful holiday season.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com.
Money, power, and respect are all yours at creditsuccesssecretsrevealed.com. Be seen as an industry leader. You can do it. The last application you filled out when it was time to hit submit did your nerves spike. You didn't get the approval you seek, but there's a better way. We teach you exactly what to place into the right systems the right way the first time so you get approved. Get up to $100,000 in instant business credit. Many people will get cash on the spot. Use those two tools in your new corporate credit engine so you can walk into the bank and get your project funded today. It's all about today at creditsuccesssecretsrevealed.com. Credit Success Secrets Revealed is explosive and ignites instant results. Dial 1-800-707-8719. That's 1-800-707-8719. 1-800-707-8719. Or just go to creditsuccesssecretsrevealed.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. Dial in, toll free. Take control of the airwaves here. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Perhaps you are looking for a gift in this holiday season, something that is going to be unique, something that's going to stand out, be memorable, and also delicious. Well, check out Omaha Steaks. They're on board here with Free Talk Live, and we had the pleasure, and it's been quite pleasurable so far, in trying out their family gift pack that they're offering to you for just $49.99. It may very well be the perfect gift for your loved ones. What you do to get it is go to omahasteaks.com, enter code FTL in the search bar, and you'll get this thing, which is normally quite a bit more, apparently, 77% off, down to $49.99. Here's what it includes for less than $50. 2 filet mignons, 2 top sirloins, 2 boneless pork chops, 4 boneless chicken breasts, 4 kielbasa sausages, 4 burgers, 12-ounce package of all-beef meatballs, 4 potatoes au gratin, 4 caramel apple tartlets, 1 Omaha steak seasoning packet, and you'll also get an additional 4 kielbasa sausages for free. Now, this is a lot of food. I was surprised by – I didn't actually know beforehand how much this thing costs, and I'm thinking, oh, my God, this is got to be $90, $100 or more. But no, it's actually just under $50 over at omahasteaks.com. It's an awesome deal, and you can get it by going and typing in code FTL in the search bar. You'll see will come down as you're typing in FTL will be one of the results there, the only result in the search bar. And then you select that, and that'll pull up the family gift pack. And, of course, they've got other things as well. There are over 500 gourmet gift ideas. They've got the highest quality cuts and ingredients. Plus, not just meat, also seafood, veggies, desserts, appetizers, pastas, soups, seasoning, sauces, and much more. It's an incredible shopping experience. We've got listeners who've been doing Omaha Steaks since before we started promoting them here. So go ahead and give them a shot over at omahasteaks.com. Whether you want to get something for yourself and your own family or somebody that you love, you want to get them a great gift. This is a great way to avoid the malls and the lines and the crowds. And it comes cold. It comes with dry ice packages, so it is frozen when it arrives at your house or your loved one's home. Again, go to omahasteaks.com. Use code FTL in the search bar, and then add the family gift pack to your cart and get 77% off. So, again, under $50. Incredible. It's guaranteed to be a hit. omahasteaks.com. Code FTL in the search bar. That's where you enter the codes. All right, let's go to David. He's in Raleigh, North Carolina, listening or watching us on YouTube at our YouTube channel. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, good evening, gents. Actually, I was calling. I had a question for Vincent. So, I guess, you would describe yourself as a libertarian, right?
Yeah, broadly, yeah, I guess.
He described himself as a minarchist earlier.
I mean, but like under the whole umbrella, I know people don't like this umbrella. I'd say, yeah, umbrella libertarian. Why not? I don't like labels, but yeah, sure.
All right, fair enough. So, I heard you talking about the, border control, or,
yes.
And I've heard you talk about it before, how, you like the police state on the border, or, whatever.
Well, I wouldn't describe it exactly like that, but okay, yeah.
Yeah, but my question is, let's say, my papers or whatever say that I'm a citizen of some other arbitrary government, whatever, and I'm an amplifier, right?
Free Talk Live amplifier.
Yep,
thank you.
Yeah, and so I come across this imaginary line called the U.S. border. Would you be okay using violence against me?
So you're saying you're an amp? I don't know why you mentioned you're an amplifier. So.
I mean, I'm just saying I'm directly benefiting you, and I'm crossing this imaginary line that you evidently
I don't get
like
any
to
money
get so
for
violent
it.
about. I'm wondering if you'd be violent with me.
He doesn't get paid to come here. He's coming here just for the fun of.
Well, I mean, yeah, but
so my question, I come and
Dave,
get verbally berated by callers and the host for fun.
my question, Dave, your skin tone, is it about the same as mine or
Daryl's gonna bring
Vincent's,
this up again.
Or is it a little darker?
I mean, it may or may not be brown. Imagine whatever you will. I'm just saying,
Vincent.
Would it be okay using violence against me?
Would it be okay using violence against you? You know what? I'm
I'm
not in that
crossing this
position to
imaginary
say.
line. Yeah, you care very much about it. You've expressed a desire to use violence against people crossing this line. I mean, does that include me?
Well, so you're just crossing it. So say, I don't know, there's like some part of a Rio Grande, you get in a little boat and you go across, you ignore any border station. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Imaginary line, whatever it is.
Yes.
Yes.
Sick.
What? Yes, you are willing to use violence.
You're fine with spending, hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars, hiring ICE agents to hunt Dave down?
Well, not hunt him down, just make sure he doesn't get across.
I mean, but you're okay stealing that from people, right? So you're okay using violence against them as well.
Well, now I hope you're not trying to imply that I'm okay with this whole current tax system that we have. As I said, I think it's best to describe myself as a minarchist.
How are they going to pay for all this enforcement? I mean, what would you like to see?
Well, I mean, a lot of the money that they take from taxes doesn't go to enforcement or what I'd say as a legitimate means. But So if I could, if let's say we lived in my perfect world, the money that I decide to pay in taxes, the money I decide to pay that I'm not forced to pay in the IRS like income, I'd save that money. I'd say to prevent dangerous people from coming into the borders that I pay for and the taxes I pay for the country that I fund.
I'm just going to work.
I think that's perfectly fine. I'm sure you're a nice person. I don't want to see anything bad happen to you, bud, but, Yeah.
Dude. I mean, so for Ian and Daryl, y'all give Sarah a hard time for her violent tendencies. I mean, why is this guy not in the hot seat as well? I mean, he's just as violent. He just wants to use his violence for something different.
Oh, we've given him a hard time.
It's not enough. I mean, dude.
I think you're poisoning the well by comparing me to Sarah. I mean, she doesn't know why. She talks about communism and everything. She doesn't. At least I have a defense for property rights in regards to the border. As I say, it's a collective goods issue. As we as citizens, we all pay into taxes, pay into the welfare.
I mean, I don't know what this collective is. I have nothing to do with it.
Okay, so have you ever read? So have you ever read Leviathan by Thomas Hobbes? Or the first half?
Back in philosophy department, back in school.
Good for you, good for you. Even when I was in philosophy, we talked about Hobbes. I didn't actually read it, so. It's not ideal, but I believe in the social contract theory.
Major.
Sorry?
I said I was a pothead philosophy major.
That's neat. Where I go, I think it's like the biggest major is philosophy, so we have a lot of unemployed people coming out of you. No, I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I switched majors.
Okay. Well, I don't want to get too distracted, but never mind. I'm not going to get too distracted. So
I mean, the fact is,
I believe in the social contract theory. So we have this social contract. We pay in for defense. We pay in.
What kind? I haven't signed this contract.
Yeah, and I think that is a flaw. I will admit that.
How can you believe in a contract that doesn't exist?
Look, I'm not talking about like.
I mean, dude. To what extent will you go to justify your violence against peaceful people?
Against peaceful. I mean, I will admit it's not ideal. We do not live in an ideal world, and I'd say that it's unfortunate. But if one person, like, if we have, I know, out of all the people coming across, if 1% have a chance to be violent against, and we could prevent that, from coming in, not just in the country, from people coming into the country, then I think absolutely.
What about the people that are born here that are going to be violent? Do you want to just kill all the babies because 1% of them might wind up doing something bad?
Where do you get that from?
Well, you're saying that you want to prevent people from coming into the country because 1% might be violent.
I'm not saying we could prevent people from being violent. I'm saying we could prevent people with violent intentions from coming into the country because we have enough violent people in this country already to begin with.
But you would also prevent people that have no intentions of being violent, and I'm just trying to figure out if your intention of stopping violence is only people that were born in another part of the world, or if you want to just go ahead and slaughter all the babies because some of them might be violent.
That is ridiculous. You're suggesting I'd even think about that.
The hypocrisy.
I mean, well, you're thinking about violence. I mean, so why not? I mean, why not carry to that extent? I mean, you've already got the violent tendency. You'll use violence crossing.
Well, that's the thing.
I mean,
the hypocrisy. David, thanks for the call tonight. I appreciate it. The hypocrisy here is that you're claiming that you're against violence, but yet you're using violence.
I never said I'm against
tool.
violence.
You want to stop violent people from coming here.
Yes, and I think violence is a suitable tool to use that. Yes, exactly.
Warning. If you're drowning in debt you can't afford, do not let the credit card companies trick you into thinking that you have to pay it all back, because you don't. What the credit card companies don't want you to know is that there's actually a way to get debt-free without paying off your entire debt or going bankrupt. If you have $5,000 or more in credit card debt, you now have the right to settle that debt for a fraction of what you owe. For free information, call Credit Associates now. 1-800-959-5928. We'll even show you how much money you could save. If you can't afford to pay off all your debt, do not let the credit card companies trick you into thinking that you have to. Call Credit Associates now for free information on how to get debt-free faster than you ever thought possible without debt consolidation or bankruptcy. We depend on your success and offer a guarantee, so there's no risk. For free information, call now. 1-800-959-5928. That's 1-800-959-5928. 1-800-959-5928.
For over 5 years, you've been hearing about the Berkey Guy, so you may know a few things about him. For example, you are well aware of the superior quality and effectiveness of Berkey water filters and accessories. But did you know the Berkeys have had independent lab tests done to prove just how effective they are? It's true, and he can email you the test results. Just visit GoBerkey.com. You may also know that the Berkey Guy has helped tens of thousands of people get better prepared. Now here's something you may not know. GoBerkey.com has amazing specials and deals all the time on a wide variety of survival and preparedness products. Most ready to ship same day. Visit the Berkey Guy at GoBerkey.com and be sure to click the red Products on Sale Now button. You can always call toll-free 877-886-3653. Again, that's 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com, home of the Berkey Guy.
Understanding your credit score is the first step towards managing and improving it. This is Charlie Sundstrom with your Van Dyke Mortgage Minute. The most influential component of your credit score is your payment history. Almost equally as important is the amount you owe on credit accounts. Also impacting your score, but to a lesser degree, are the length of time you've utilized your credit, the number of new accounts, credit inquiries, and your various types of credit accounts. To help achieve or maintain a healthy credit score, have a system set up to assure your bills are always paid on time. Don't max out your cards. It's better to have a high credit limit with a low balance. Never close old accounts. The age of these can actually help your credit score. But don't be afraid to use your credit. You need several accounts in order to have a credit score. Just keep the corresponding payments within your means. For your mortgage pre-approval and refi needs, start by visiting VanDykeMortgage.com.
Corporate NMLS 3035. Van Dyke Mortgage is an equal housing lender. Charlie Sundstrom, NMLS 134251.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll free. Here are numbers: 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype, and you can Skype into the show at Skype username LRN.FM. I want to come back and talk more about that Marxist restaurant when we get a chance. But we went into a larger conversation about an issue that is near and dear to the heart of libertarians, and that is the use of coercion to achieve political or social goals. Now, it used to be that that's what the word libertarian was supposed to mean. However, there have been big tenter folks who have been saying, well, as long as you think government should be smaller, you're a libertarian.
Right. That would be a lessarchist.
Yeah, or
someone who wants less government. Let's cut the budget by $1.
You're a libertarian. No. Being a libertarian should mean something specific. And what it meant when I joined the Libertarian Party back in the late 1990s, probably around the time when you also got involved, Daryl.
Yeah, I think we were looking at the membership rolls recently, and I joined a couple months before you.
Oh, really? They actually had the number of when? Okay, cool. So looking at that, I signed a statement that said I don't support or advocate the initiation of force to achieve political or social goals, but I hadn't really, thought about how that applied to all of the issues at that point. And I remember the first time I took the world's smallest political quiz, I did not vote or not vote, like it's a little 10-question quiz that the Advocates for Self-Government have created. You can go to their website at theadvocates.org and you can take it there. It's a very, very good little kind of outreach project where you can hand out this quiz to people, or you can, help them answer the questions. And, if they answer all yeses on that, then they are the maximum libertarian they can possibly be. I did not answer yes initially, at least in my mind, but I realized that I had to learn why I had to answer yes on that, because to do anything else would be inconsistent with the principle that I signed my name to. So I learned more about the issue, and I, did come to understand why, it's not okay, even in the circumstances of the border, to use violence against people. And one of the reasons why is a sort of a moral reason, Vincent, and you're a Christian, basically, you're Catholic.
I don't see what that has anything to do with it, but okay.
Well, I mean, using violence is generally something that I don't think Jesus would have done.
Well, I see it in more of a term of so it's important. We talked about philosophy. I think it's important to bring out our terms. To define terms. Don't you agree? So, I mean, in my worldview, I see border defense as a form of self-defense, and I really don't like talking about my religion on the air for. Certain callers like to call in and comment on it. But, what I'll say to that is, at one point Jesus said, and, I'm not going to interpret what he said. He said, "Sow your cloak and buy a sword," and also render unto Caesar what is Caesar, render unto God what is God. So I really don't like to let my religious life and political life or political views and religious views get mixed in, because there's no reason. And I think when you apply religion to politics, that ends up with fundamentalism and disaster. And I for my ethics system, aside from just general religious things, I think that a secular-based ethics system is the best, because you don't say, "Oh, I'm not going to do X, Y, or Z because this giant man in the sky is going to send me to the pit of fiery hell for it."
Well, what I was going to get at was sort of the idea of karma, if you will.
Yes.
That, what you put out there is what you receive back. And so if you're willing to use violence to achieve your political or social goals, in this case, the goal of supposedly keeping bad people out of the United States, you've debased yourself from the get-go by, turning towards violence as your means for that. Because, and again, we're not talking about defensive violence here. We're talking about initiation of force. And it is an initiation of force to stop someone who's traveling from point A to point B, peacefully traveling from point A to point B, and demand that they bend over and allow you to search them in whatever way that you want to. That is a move that someone who thinks they own people would do. And if you support that, then you shouldn't be surprised when eventually the violence of the state is turned around against you. Maybe right now you're fortunate in that you're not the politically targeted category. Right now they're targeting Muslims, they're targeting brown people who are coming here, because if you're not brown, you're not going to likely get as much scrutiny on the border, even though you could be coming from Ireland or something like that.
Right, but about 110 years ago, it was Italians and Irish.
Exactly. So my point is, and Dr. Mary Ruwart makes this point real clear in her excellent book, Healing Our World, where if sort of the means end up becoming the ends, or if you are willing to use violence, you should not be surprised when eventually the tables get turned against you. Eventually when that government that you have empowered by your support to use violence, in this case on the border or inside the country, trying to enforce the border, trying to capture people, for instance, who have evaded capture, who've, again, not harmed anybody, they've just come here, then you should not complain when somebody else gets in charge of that same government and then uses that same apparatus that you have allowed to exist through your support to then go after you for something you like to do, for something that you like to possess, for something that you enjoy in your spare time or as your job or whatever it is you do. Those things could be outlawed, and then you could all of a sudden find yourself the target of that. And how would you feel if that were the case?
Well,
if you were the persecuted one.
In the abstract, I agree with that. But in the case of border, I don't see it as initiating force against someone, because...
Have you ever been stopped at a border checkpoint?
Yes.
You don't feel like that's the initiation of force?
Well, when I got detained, I got detained twice. Once because of once at the airport because of I'm a dual citizen with Canada, so it was a paperwork issue. And then the second time, my mother, she went through the truck stop instead of the sedan, car stop, and that scared the guy, and that set off an alarm, and they had to search her car.
And how did you feel? How did you feel when you were being detained?
Well, in regards to the paperwork, that was because of the TSA is a stupid bureaucracy. In regards to my mother,
they're all stupid bureaucracies.
In terms of my mother going through the wrong point, she just drove through, and then the alarm came on, and then she had to
She didn't stop.
Around.
She just went and blew through a checkpoint.
I'm trying to remember what exactly happened. It happened like a few years ago. But at that point, I was pretty embarrassed.
How far did she get out before she realized?
Well, the second the alarm went off, she stopped, and then
so she was 10 feet away or something.
Yeah,
like that?
And the guy's like, "What the hell are you doing?" No one showed guns. They just said, "What the hell you were doing?" This was kind of a low key border. That's pretty much how I remembered. Yeah, I was embarrassed, and I said,
Well, usually they don't show the guns until they have to. That's how they can fool people into thinking there's something besides an armed gang of criminals.
So back to the original point about initiation of force. I don't, at least the way I view it. I could be wrong. I don't view stopping someone at the border to be initiation of force. I see it somewhat similar. And
well, then you're delusional on that. I mean, with all due respect,
please let me continue. Please let me continue. So, I see if someone wanted to gain access into your house, it's your property, right? You pay for your house. You would not allow them in if you did not want them in.
That's
correct?
Private property, not public property.
But when I talk about the tragedy of the commons and social contract, so the world we live in right now, and this is my view as a taxpayer. It could be different. And yeah, I will agree. I could be morally wrong on this, but the U.S., we all, citizens or people who pay taxes, we all pay taxes so we could. For defense, so we could all enjoy the collective good, enjoy the welfare if we're on the dole. And I see as these people coming through, and it's not just me, other people do too. I see people coming through not paying taxes. They come in here illegally. I see that as a form of theft. Now,
so the claim is that all of us in this room and everybody listening right now collectively own the vast nothingness in the West. Correct?
No, I'm not going to say collectively owned. It's just we all pay into the government that does collectively own it.
So you're saying the criminal government owns that land, you respect their claim of ownership, and so therefore it's within their rights to allow or disallow anybody onto it?
Yes, but I wouldn't say criminal government. Yeah,
no, they're not criminals?
Well, I'm saying in general, the U.S. government, in theory, back from how it was originally written, and yeah, I think there should be a lot of changes, but just currently when we're talking, the government's supposed to be run by the people. It's supposed to represent the people, so I wouldn't say, I wouldn't say inherently it's criminal. Currently, right now, in its current incarnation, I will agree it is extremely criminal.
But if I'm okay with people using that empty land that nobody's doing anything with, then shouldn't, people be allowed to go do that because that's part of what I want, or should it only be the violent people that say nobody uses it?
If enough people would vote for representatives to then say, okay, we could have open borders, then yeah. So if you get enough people, that's just, that's the world we live in at the moment.
Violence until we get enough people to say otherwise.
And currently the incarnation
ultimately
that's true. That's how it's going to work.
Well, ultimately that's true, Daryl. Until people reject violence, including Vincent, we're never going to see the end of it.
And that's not going to happen anytime
450
soon.
free. This is Free Talk Live. Hour 3's coming up. You've said it yourself. We need a healthcare system that focuses on health, not sickness. Health insurance pays for treating sickness but gives you nothing for being healthy. There's a free market healthcare company that gives you freedom from health insurance. They give you a proactive health assessment daily, no charge 24-hour access to doctors. Check them out right now at healthexcellenceselect.com. Any kind of doctor, traditional, integrative, chiropractic, acupuncture, and massage. You'll love the service and price. healthexcellenceselect.com. healthexcellenceselect.com.
If you had one day to teach someone economics, what would you say? We would say that innovation and prosperity requires economic freedom. Visit fee.org/courses and check out Economics in One Day, a crash course in free market economics that you can present to your community. For over 70 years, the Foundation for Economic Education has been a champion of liberty. Start today at no charge by visiting fee.org/courses and learn why economic freedom matters.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
Did you know you can watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cams at cam.freetalklive.com? Plus, you can chat with other listeners while you watch, all totally free. Now that our live video stream is hosted by YouTube, our video archives will be online even faster. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Friday, December 9th, 2016. Silver is trading at $17.05 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,167 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 1 cent, and the average price of Bitcoin is $777. Antiwar.com reports following a vote in the U.S. House of Representatives, the U.S. Senate voted 92-7 on Thursday to pass the 2017 National Defense Authorization Act, the main military spending bill for the next year. This is a compromise version of the bill, which only includes funding for the wars for the early part of 2017, with the assumption that an emergency bill will be passed in early 2017 to pay for the rest of it. This allows Congress to falsely claim that they're only increasing military spending by a few $1 billion over last year, when in practice the total of all of the bills will be a much bigger increase. As with most recent NDAAs, it forbids the closure of the detention center at Guantanamo Bay and also bans the Pentagon from closing military bases it no longer wants. The compromise bill took out 2 key provisions which would have threatened the veto-proof majority it has, one aiming to require women to register for the draft, and another, the Russell Amendment, which would have allowed military contractors to discriminate against people on the basis of gender or sexual orientation. Surviving the final cut was a $160 million outlay to the U.S. State Department to identify and counter Russian propaganda. This program started with an eye towards bolstering independent, read pro-U.S., journalists in Eastern Europe, but has since centered around false Washington Post allegations that a large chunk of America's own independent media, including Antiwar.com, are secretly in league with Russia. The bill now goes to the president for a signature, and while the White House has not taken a formal position, there appears to be no real question that he'll ultimately sign it rather than be overridden for a second time in his final year in office. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports Ronald Burt Smith, a man an Alabama jury recommended be sentenced to life in prison 22 years ago for the fatal shooting of a store clerk, was scheduled to be executed on Thursday until the U.S. Supreme Court said it needed more time to review the case. The court issued a temporary stay for Smith on Thursday night. Alabama is the only state in the United States in which a jury can decide to execute someone with a split vote. Alabama law also allows a judge to override the jury's recommendation. Smith's jury recommended he spend the rest of his life in prison with a vote of 7-5, but the trial judge overrode the recommendation and sentenced him to death. In January, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down a law in Florida that allowed judges, not juries, to designate death sentences for defendants in murder cases, citing a 2002 Supreme Court ruling that stated jurors have final say in death sentence cases tried by a jury. Alabama's judges are elected officials, and the Equal Justice Initiative argues judicial overrides increase during election years, suggesting some death sentences could be imposed not because of the facts related to the case, but because judges seek to display themselves as tough on crime during their re-election campaigns. In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake's security company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. But at what cost? And can anyone stop him? Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports weather forecasters are sending chills down some spines with a prediction that much of the northern half of the United States could see frigid weather next week, similar to a life-threatening lows the polar vortex brought to parts of the country in 2014. The southward shift in the polar vortex in 2014 brought the Midwest some of its coldest weather in 2 decades. Icy conditions snarled travel, and thousands of flights were canceled or delayed. The coldest weather next week is expected in the Midwest and Northeast starting around Tuesday, according to forecasts that show temperatures in the single digits in some cities. It is unclear how far south the cold air will be felt. This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
The Onion looks back at This Week in History. On July 21st, 2007, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, the final installment in the widely popular Harry Potter series, was released, as excited fans all over the world eagerly flipped to the book's final pages to find out if Harry and Lord Voldemort finally
Author J.K. Rowling had already succeeded in creating one of the most popular literary franchises of all time. And of course, much of that success was owed to the expertly crafted sexual tension that steadily built up between the series' protagonist, schoolboy wizard Harry Potter, and the Dark Lord Voldemort. Everyone in the country wanted to know whether or not they would and if they did how many times would they and who would be who.
And that was what happened this week in history. In the words of Mother Teresa, if there is one lesson to learn from the past, it's that no matter what you do, there will always be a bunch more crippled dying kids.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live, and you can bring up whatever you want here. Toll-free number 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And you can, of course, take control of the airwaves. That's the point of the show, though we always bring stuff to the table that we think's interesting. We want to get back into the Marxist diner, which is something that the three of us can agree on, I think. With you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
It's Vincent.
And Daryl.
So, Daryl, you actually, I brought it up as a topic tonight, but you had what you consider to be a better piece. I had one from a place called Heat Street.
Yeah, you've got one that's a bit of an exceptionalist sort of thing to where...
Headline here, Marxist vegan restaurant closes after customers no longer willing to wait 40 minutes for a sandwich, which you says was not an exaggeration.
Not an exaggeration.
They really were taking a long time to prepare the food.
Yes.
Now, just let's recap here for listeners just tuning in our third hour. This place was a so-called employee-owned restaurant.
And we just sort of glossed over. Yeah. I've not even read anything straight from the news piece here.
Okay. All right,
so
let's dig into it then.
Yeah, if I just go with the article, it's like we're starting fresh. The end has come for a popular Grand Rapids restaurant, known as much for its creative vegan dish as its progressive business model. For much of its 5-year existence, the eatery went by the moniker Bartertown Diner until it was rebranded in September to the Garden Diner and Cafe. The offbeat 30-seat eatery announced last month that their final day would be November 30th. After a strong summer, the restaurant, with about a dozen employees, struggled in recent months, according to Thad Cummings. He took over in March with Crystal LaCoy, who left 2 months later. Cummings says, I was an original investor. I wanted to push it to see if the model could be done. A farewell message on the Facebook page that's since been pulled down completely indicated that the business... and they give the address, and another business, Cult Pizza, and they give the address of that, are both
Pizza?
Cult, as in cult,
a
cult of personality, cult of pizza. Cult Pizza are both up for sale for $60,000 and $40,000 respectively. The price tag, however, does not include the lease for the 3 units that each come with a monthly rent of $1,600. Both Bartertown and Cult Pizza, which opened in 2013 and closed earlier this year, were started by Ryan Capoletti, a vegan chef with a plan to create a sustainable restaurant model with baker Roxanne Aguilar. Before Bartertown's 2011 open, he created vegan menus for Stella's Lounge and the Viceroy, and also helped with Brick Road Pizza. Bartertown's initial menu was described in a 2011 review as an imaginative array of veggie, vegan, and raw dishes that came with the names like Dirty Dirty Beans and Greens and Raw Trash Salad.
That does not sound attractive.
Not at all.
I mean, vegan food generally doesn't sound attractive to
now,
me. But
I will say,
it could be very good.
And I'm like, the anti-vegan.
Yeah,
but
you don't eat vegetables. That's not your thing.
I did, when I lived in San Antonio, I did enjoy going to this vegan restaurant that had vegan pizza.
So tofu pizza,
right?
Basically.
So it's Vwam, so vegan ham. There was Vossage, so vegan sausage. There was bacon, and the bacon actually tasted almost like bacon. So yeah, it was tofu with like liquid smoke and something else.
If it fooled you, Daryl, then it must have been all right.
Yeah. Here they say in the first year, Bartertown landed on Vegan News' list of top 10 new vegan restaurants, sharing the spotlight with eateries in London, Toronto, Vancouver, and Las Vegas.
So what you're saying so far is, okay, the chef, he's somewhat renowned. He's had some experience.
Right.
The part owner, I guess, how he can be an investor in a restaurant that's employee-owned. I don't really understand how all that works. But anyway, you're saying some, okay, so they got some press. It sounded good.
It sounded good. Not only was the menu unconventional, so was the business model.
All right. Now, this is the interesting part to me.
Bartertown, a collective, which meant that there were no bosses, according to Capoletti. The inspiration for the worker-owned restaurant was based on Capoletti's own restaurant experience. Quote, because of our economy, people are working 12 to 15-hour shifts. Servers take home $200 to $300 a night in tips. The cooks make $10 an hour, and the owner takes whatever he takes.
$200 to $300 a night. It sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
We're going to have an equal pay and equal say across the board. Everyone works together. Employees would be expected to join the union, Industrial Workers of the World.
Oh, God.
In keeping with the worker empowerment theme, he commissioned a mural depicting Marxist revolutionary Che Guevara, Chinese Communist leader Mao Zedong, and other provocative leaders tackling restaurant duties.
Provocative is another word for murderers.
Because those guys all got paid the same as their foot soldiers and goons, I guess. Yeah.
In the end, the restaurant failed to achieve the employee business model it envisioned. Cummings said, it had never been a worker-owned restaurant. That was a misnomer. We still bought locally and paid living wages. The living wages, no-tip model required the restaurant to do a high level of sales to sustain the high operational cost.
No-tip model?
No tip. So you're not allowed to tip.
Interesting. Because there are some places...
Because everybody makes the same.
Well, but there are some places where the employees will pool their tips.
Right, but that's not legal everywhere.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
That's not legal in New Hampshire.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, there was actually a lawsuit a couple years ago that I happened to have read that it was going to the Supreme Court.
Well, I think it should be legal. I mean, if that's what people want to do, then they should be able to do that. I think it's a terrible system.
Well, what some restaurants were doing were they were forcing everybody to pull the tips of, if you want to have a job here, you've got to pull your tips.
That's
so
not force.
It wasn't a
That's contract.
thing of
suggesting.
No, that's a contract. You go working. You want to go work there. They tell you, hey, look, we pull tips here. You don't like that? Go find another job. There's plenty of restaurant jobs. I mean, it's not hard to find a restaurant job. There's an incredibly high turnover in restaurants. People are always leaving those jobs.
But getting back to this, Cummings said...
but no tips. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no tips. While the restaurant's menu garnered a loyal following and hefty praise, there were complaints about 40-minute waits for sandwiches and limited hours of operation. News of the restaurant's closure sparked debate on Reddit, And they describe it as a discussion website. Business and politics aren't an appetizing mix, wrote one person who had this to say. I want to pay money for good products without a side of indoctrination. Hopefully this sends a message you shouldn't try running your business on political goodwill alone. In August, the diner actually came under fire from customers for sending free meals to the Grand Rapids Police Department, which then posted a thank you on Facebook. That drew angry comments from some customers who accused the diner of shifting away from its proletariat roots by supporting a nearly all-white police force in this era of police violence. Bartertown responded with a Facebook post saying its community model required an inclusive approach. At Bartertown, they wrote, "We aim to break down barriers to invite everyone to the same table regardless of their socioeconomic status, beliefs, race, or gender. From the penniless folks we engage with on the streets to the wealthy and everyone in between of all genders and races, we do not show prejudice." Cummings declined to talk about the incident on record, but noted the restaurant routinely provided free meals to organizations. It also had a board that let customers pay to put up tickets, which could be used by someone in need of a taco or a bowl of food.
That's a nice idea, a little pay it forward thing.
That's nice, and I would like to see more restaurants do that, to where you can just be like, here's $5 extra that, if somebody comes in and they need, a sandwich.
Like a take a penny, leave a penny thing.
Sure, except a little bit larger. And there was also a story about a restaurant that was having bums take stuff out of the dumpster that ended up putting up like a sign out back. Like, just come in, ask for a PB&J, we'll give you one for free.
Right.
And I thought that was kind of a cool
asked.
thing. Yeah.
And there's even some Panera Breads that will do a thing to where it's like a pay what you want, where when you check out, they'll say,
right,
your suggested total is, and if you wind up giving more, then they'll deduct it off of somebody else's, or they'll donate stuff to the homeless shelter.
Yeah, we talked about that
once. I think Pete Eyre had stopped at one and did a video when he was on the Motorhome Diaries.
There's like a couple of experimental Paneras that are doing that. Yeah. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. I don't know if they were the corporate stores or...
I think they were corporate.
Yeah. Toll-free number 855-450-FREE. You can join us on Free Talk Live.
Franklin is part beagle and part yellow lab. He was rescued in 2010 from the streets of Los Angeles. Somebody threw him out of a car and shattered his leg. He was malnourished and emaciated. He was also shedding excessively. The vet bills, the prescriptions became increasingly expensive, and he wasn't eating. That led me to look for other food sources for Franklin, including a raw dog food diet. I found the entire recipe, which incorporated raw meat, eggs, rice, Dinovite, and LicoChops, his omega-3 supplement, on Dinovite.com.
DINOVITE.com. 859-428-1000.
Now he's thriving. He's shedding much less. He never misses mealtime, and his coat is soft and shiny. I like that you guys are focusing on rescue dogs. I think every rescue deserves at least 90 days of Dinovite. 859-428-1000. Start that little pet off right. Just go to Dinovite.com.
DINOVITE.com.
Winter has just begun, and are you already tired of being cold? How would you like to never be cold again? This is Dale with Fortress Clothing, and I'm here to tell you, you will never be cold again with Fortress. If you're tired of freezing your butt off, elk hunting, sitting in a tree stand deer hunting, winter camping, fishing, ice fishing, no longer fear the cold. If you snowmobile, ski, snowboard, get Fortress. Sledding with the kids, shoveling the walks, shopping, or if you or your spouse get cold feet at home, get Fortress. If you're stuck outside working in the cold or find yourself in an emergency situation, get our winter bug-out bag and you will never be cold again. Fortress is the answer, so quit complaining and go to FortressClothing.com. It's a mid-layer garment that goes with anything you want to wear. Enter coupon code RADIO and get 20% off any item. Go now while we still have inventory. FortressClothing.com.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. For years, LRN.FM has had a listen line that you can call and listen to LRN.FM anytime. Now we're taking the idea to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line. You can call 641-793-9660 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed, and you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 641-793-9660 and choose from the menu 641-793-9660.
This is your Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Friday, gold is $3 lower at $1,167 per ounce, and silver is 6 cents higher at $17.10 per ounce. Bitcoin is currently trading at $771 US. Consider giving the gift of silver. It never wears out, always has value, and they will always remember who gave it to them. For a variety of options, call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is Free Talk Live. Dial toll free. Join us on the radio waves here and bring up anything that's on your mind. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype, and the Skype username is LRN.FM. With you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
It's Vincent.
And Daryl.
HostGator.com/FTL. Get you 50% off of HostGator's regular prices. HostGator's one of the top hosting companies out there. They've got a 99.99% uptime rating. They've got one-click easy installation for WordPress, 24/7 over the phone or live chat tech support, and a very intuitive and user-friendly control panel that puts the power of creation and the simplicity of use into your hands. If you've been thinking about starting a blog or a website, maybe you've already got a website but you need to move to a new host, you're tired of your existing host, we can get you 50% off their regular prices by you just going to this special URL. It's HostGator.com/FTL. That's FTL like Free Talk Live. HostGator.com/FTL. As we go to the phones here, we can talk more about the Kami restaurant that has gone out of business in Grand Rapids. But first, we've got James in Ohio watching us on YouTube. Go ahead, James.
Yes, Ian Freeman, it's a pleasure to talk to you. I'm a big fan. I've been listening to you on and off for years, and I'm a reformed former government worker, although I lean conservative. Not just you, but I was inspired to get in the private business, and now that's what I do, and I'm a lot happier than I've ever been.
Congrats!
Because you're actually offering value to people and so forth. And so, but anyway, okay. I think y'all are being a little unfair to Vincent because I used to be a true anarcho-capitalist relative to all forms. And I still am. I do consider myself a volunteerist and such. But if you read some of Lou Rockwell and Hans Hoppe, some of those, they actually speak about this, about how it's not. And listen, I know y'all are well aware of this, and y'all study this stuff all the time, and I don't. But the line of work I'm in and the work I do for the company that I service, they have folks in England who they try to bring here, and they can't because of stupid immigration laws, right?
Sure.
And so, yes, legally it's way too hard to come here. And these are smart, productive people who would do nothing but help the economy, and I think our society would benefit from them being over here. So in that regard, the government has to change that because that's market driven. But guys, I was in Denver, Colorado, getting treated for cancer. Now, and cancer actually ate my vertebrae away, and I was paralyzed. Okay, yes, and this was about a year ago, and so I was in the hospital for 50 days. Okay, when I was in the hospital in Denver, okay, the people in rehab with me, I would say about 3/4 to 2/3 were Spanish-speaking folks who, when I would ask the physical therapist, or we would talk about different things, and they actually legally weren't allowed to tell me this, but they ended up doing it. They told me they really probably weren't American citizens. And a lot of their surgeries...
So they shouldn't have been allowed to get surgeries? They shouldn't have been in the hospital?
Absolutely. Yes, Daryl. And by the way, I'm a fan of yours, and I wish you were president, by the way. But no, I agree with you. But here's the bottom line.
Well, no, Daryl wasn't saying that he was asking you, do you believe they should not be able to go into the hospital and get surgery?
Yes, no, they should not be able to.
Do you think they paid for it, or was it?
Wait. Yes, if they're able to legally pay, then yes. But they're not paying. The hospital has to take them. They're coming over from the border from Mexico, knowing that the hospital can't refuse them.
Now, that's a law, though. That's a law that forces hospitals to do that.
Right. I understand, and Ronald Reagan signed that, and I'm completely against that. But protecting the border, down there on the border, it's not private property. The government owns that land. And so it's not bad for us or for people who have to pay taxes to not want folks coming over because we can't protect it, to have some sort of resistance to that, say, wait a minute. And like I said, the immigration system as it is a joke. Don't get me wrong.
What makes you think the government's going to make it less of a joke?
The government's only made it more of a joke and more of a joke and even more of a joke. In the late 1800s, the French government gifted the United States government this giant statue that stands in New York Harbor with a poem at the bottom that says, "Give me your tired, your weak,
Is that
your
legally
huddled
binding,
masses."
though, Daryl? Is that legally binding?
No, but it was an
Did I ask
indication
for it?
of what the attitude was.
Right, and
at the time, yeah,
time-
and things change.
And
there
at
used to
the
be slavery
time-
in this country, Daryl. Was that an attitude of the time? Should we still have slavery because of it?
No, slavery was a horrible, horrible thing that infringed on human rights. And when the Statue of Liberty was put in at the time, I believe that was, 1886 when that was donated. The only immigration law that had been passed at the federal level at the time was the Chinese Exclusion Act that got passed 14 years prior. Horrible piece of legislation, by the way. But when Ellis Island opened, the only thing that had to be done was state your name and you're on your way. And then they started adding all kinds of tests.
Well, they'd be quarantined if they were sick also. They'd be quarantined if they were sick.
Not initially. That happened about a decade after Ellis Island opened. And then they started giving people intelligence tests. I remember when I visited Ellis Island, they've got quotes hanging from walls, and one of them was a quote. This girl from somewhere in Eastern Europe was asked the question, when washing stairs, do you wash from the bottom to the top or the top to the bottom? And she said, I didn't come to America to wash stairs. I came here for freedom.
So go ahead, James.
No, thank you, Ian. Well, here's the bottom line, is that in our current system, the way that we interpret, what is it, the Ron Paul talked about, the 12th, I can't remember where, if you're born here, you have citizenship.
You're talking about birthright citizenship?
Right, exactly. Which is misinterpreted and shouldn't. And first of all, the whole idea of citizenship, I agree. Why are we citizens to a country anyway? We're citizens to ourselves. But the way it's interpreted, the way it's abused, and the fact that that's not private property on that border, Daryl, There is a cause for it. It's not.
Look, you can justify it all you want, but the thing is, the funny thing that about y'all's position, Vincent and James, is that you seem to believe that the government can do this. I mean, look, it's the government. They fail at everything. Even if you can justify, it's the government's border, we pay taxes, bad people are coming. The government sucks at doing everything. They can't do this right.
I'm sure that both of you would agree with the quote, if you put the U.S. federal government in charge of the Sahara Desert in 5 years, there'd be no sand. But yet somehow you think that the U.S. government can do something about
governments are made out of people,
border.
okay? Just like your organization.
Hold on,
so
James.
people are different everywhere.
Toll-free number 855-450-FREE. No, people may be different, but governments fail everywhere.
That's a big generalization.
It's a true statement. 855-450-FREE. Yeah, look at their programs. It's Free Talk Live.
In these uncertain times, it makes sense to have a sustainable backup method to cook food and boil water. If your current plan includes using a fuel-burning stove or cooking over an open fire, then there's a much better way. The Minuteman Rocket Stove is a biomass-burning cooking stove that only requires small quantities of sticks and twigs for fuel. The Minuteman Stove is easy to use, smokeless, portable, powerful, and sustainable. For the finest in survival cooking stoves and fire starters made right here in the USA, go to MinutemanStove.com. That's MinutemanStove.com.
How confident are you in your food storage? If it was all you had to rely on, would it sustain your family? Hard times, good times, or any time, NuManna storable food is the proven superior choice. Learn for yourself what happened when one man ate only NuManna storable food for an entire month. Online at PowerPrepper.com. That's PowerPrepper.com. Experience the NuManna difference.
American-made food stores I love to eat. Yum!
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Teens radio show. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgoristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agorist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers, and some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agorist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any tomfoolery. So go with AgoristHosting.com. And if you want to get your foot in the door with decentralized marketplaces, Agorist Hosting is now offering Open Bazaar hosting. Go to agoristhosting.com, click on the button that says Get Hosted. Agorist Hosting, that's AGORIST hosting.com.
For Bitcoin to be ubiquitous, people need to use it. For people to use it, they must have it. How can we get Bitcoin into more hands? Tipping. What if you could include a bonus Bitcoin tip along with your regular tip to a server? What if that Bitcoin tip returned to you if unclaimed after 30 days? An attractive business card Bitcoin tip that's easily claimed, gives instructions on wallets and spending, and returns to the tipper if unused. Tip.freetalklive.com. Tip.freetalklive.com. The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1. Share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
FoodForLiberty.com sells high-quality, storable foods from NuManna. And right now, take advantage of our summer special. Purchase 2 family packs and we'll send you a Pro Pure Water Pitcher, a $70 value, free. This premium pitcher is ideal for use with just about any water source and removes more contaminants than other brands. And it comes with a filter that lasts up to 2 full years. Whether you need to be prepared in the event of an emergency, you're an outdoor sports enthusiast, NuManna is known for high-quality, great-tasting, GMO-free, super nutritious food with no chemical preservatives. And with a 25-year shelf life, you can't beat the feeling of being food secure when you need it most. Go to FoodForLiberty.com right now for great-tasting, high-quality, storable foods from NuManna. Buy 2 family packs and get the Pro Pure Water Pitcher free. It makes good sense to be prepared. Get it at FoodForLiberty.com.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Dial toll-free. Take control of these airwaves here. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. So, Tipsy Elves, we've got a problem. One of our listeners reported that the code is not working. So that's embarrassing. We've been talking about Tipsy Elves and their cool sweaters that we've been modeling on some nights here in the studio. We don't have one on here tonight.
We've got one. If Vincent will grab that.
Yeah,
if you
want to grab the, you're welcome to. Yeah, grab it right there from the chair, Vincent. But the best way, of course, to see their inventory is to go to tipsyelves.com and check it out. They've got a bunch of different sweaters with some crazy and outrageous and ridiculous and really garish and ugly designs. And Vincent is now putting on a sweater that
He's
is likely
putting it on instead of just holding it up.
Yep, that's really, he's going above and beyond the requirements here. It's a little too large for you, but it wasn't intended for you.
I feel skinny.
You got to get close.
I feel skinny in it, so I like it. It's very nice and very comfortable too.
And mine, fits me really well, and it keeps me really warm. So not only are they warm because they are serious about quality and construction, but they're also all about fun. There's some just outrageous and ridiculous sweaters, including interactive sweaters. One with beer pong cups attached to it, and you can throw ping pong balls into the beer pong cups. And that's not the only interactive sweater they have for men. There's also full-on Christmas suits for men. For women, they've got holiday leggings, sweater dresses, and pajamas. They also have collegiate designs as well. So they've got the huge Christmas section and then college wear as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at the college wear right now. They've got men's and women's sweaters, women's jogger leggings, and then they have men's and women's jumpsuits and fanny packs.
So go and get yours. We've been telling you to use code FTL and get 20% off the entire site. However, apparently there's something wrong, and that code is not being recognized. Now, why is that? Well, so Tipsy Elves does business with an ad buyer that sort of does the business of finding places to advertise for Tipsy Elves. And so there was probably some kind of miscommunication in there to where the code didn't get activated or whatever. So we're not yet sure how to deal with this. What I would suggest doing is contacting customer service and asking them what to do because, hey, you heard this on the radio. We're advertising for Tipsy Elves, but the code doesn't work. And Mark tried to reach out to the advertising company, and apparently they're off for a Christmas party today. So they weren't able to deal with this, and so now we get to talk about, Tipsy Elves and how great the products are, but the code doesn't work. Or at least as of this afternoon, the code didn't work. I've asked Mark to reach out directly to Tipsy Elves and see if they can flip a switch or something like that to make this thing happen, which hopefully their customer service is in over the weekend. I don't know what their hours are. But I would recommend that if you're putting together an order, I did notice this because when I went and ordered a sweater a few weeks ago from Tipsy Elves, I got distracted and left stuff in the cart, and they started emailing me like, hey, you forgot something in your cart. So, I would say load up the cart and then send them an email and say, my code's not working. And
right, so you've got to create an account or put in an email, otherwise you won't get notified.
Right, so the code FTL is supposed to get you 20% off site-wide, but right now it's not working, and hopefully we'll hear good news sometime this weekend that it will start working if all goes well. Because they are great sweaters, and they make really killer Christmas gifts, and they'll get you a lot of attention at your Christmas or holiday parties. As we go to your calls, or go back to your calls here, James is still with us in Ohio. So we were talking about, right there before we had to go to break, talking about the idea that government fails at pretty much everything that they attempt to do. They may be able to build the bridge, but they pay too much for it. If you're lucky, the bridge won't fall down. The war on drugs has been completely unsuccessful in keeping drugs out. As Daryl pointed out, you can't even keep the government can't even keep drugs out of its own prisons, which is a much smaller plot of land than the whole country is. So, the fact is, if you throw a bunch of money and troops at the border, you're probably going to stop some people from coming here. Further, if you create a total police state, it will likely not be as attractive to people to want to come here in the beginning.
And maybe that's the point.
And maybe that is the point. But ultimately, if people want to come here, the amount of troops or the amount of people on the border or whatever is not going to stop it. It'll just be like the drug cartels who have to pay off border guards. Border guards will get paid off to let trucks full of people through as well, and they probably currently are. So, why you believe that the government can do this task when you should be able to acknowledge that government generally fails at whatever it tries is bewildering to me, guys. Let's let James reply first.
Okay, Ian, I would be all for some sort of militia or private entity that's voluntarily going down there, or that people could privately raise money to help protect it. I'm not even for the government doing that. And earlier, Daryl, I think, quoted Milton Friedman when he talked about the government would make the desert, couldn't even keep saying the desert. And I agree with everything that y'all said about the government, like I said. But here's the bottom line. Milton Friedman, who I don't think was perfect by any means, he even said when it comes to immigration, when you have a welfare state, you're going to attract people to come over just to use the welfare state. And that's what's happening. And when you do that and the government is in charge of immigration and they're limiting people who would be contributors to society, and and because of their incompetence, they're letting people in. I don't think it's because of their incompetence, people are coming in who are just milking the system. I don't think it's unreasonable to say, hey, look, this isn't private property. These people are coming over, just like when I was in Denver, and they're spending millions of dollars for people to have surgery. The people come over knowing that they can go to the hospital and get surgery. I don't think that's right, and I don't think it's a totalitarian stance to say, wait a minute, we don't really want this.
Okay, but you're justifying more government because we have government, right?
Well,
you're
not
saying
more government. We've had.
Yes, you're calling for more government.
Well,
you're calling for border patrol.
Actually, I'm saying yes, we've had border patrol not ever since the founding of this country, but we've had it for a decent while. I'm not saying we should put even more people on there. I'm just saying
you may not be saying that, but plenty of people are saying that. Trump's talking about a wall, and you don't oppose it.
If
that's
more
more government,
I did see evidence that something else would be more cost effective or whatever, I'm not dogmatic about it.
Hang
so
on,
for
James,
something more cost effective, I'd say it. But yes, at the moment, I do believe in the wall. Sorry,
James, you're saying you do not believe in the wall, or you do?
No, because as Ron Paul said about 10 years ago, if you build a wall to keep people out, it can also keep people in.
Okay, let me. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No.
So where would you go to if, say, the U.S. became such a police state? Where else could we, like all of these freedoms get taken away? Where else could you go? Like where else is more free than the U.S. that you have easy access to?
Have you ever heard of Switzerland?
Easy access to. I said easy access to.
Yes, I have I have coworkers who live in Europe. My business is international. It's not. Yes, I agree. To be a citizen in Switzerland, it's a hassle. But to go to a place and to be sponsored to work, you can actually achieve things like that. There's about. I don't know if the United States is really that free.
It's not.
Compared to everywhere else, at least in my opinion, compared to in Canada, where
Canada's more free, dude. If you look at the index of economic freedom.
Okay, that's economic freedom. You can get arrested for hate speech there. You can, if you defend your own property with a gun, you will be sued by the Crown. Okay. They've had cases
Where do they
like
rank
this.
on the social freedoms charts, Daryl? Do you happen to have that handy? Because
that's what I'm trying to pull up right now.
Was it Heritage?
Index, Cato Institute and the Fraser Institute out of Canada, along with a German entity, did the Index of Freedom in the World that I just pulled up.
And this takes in both social and economic freedoms?
Correct. What they show is New Zealand number 1, followed by Netherlands, Hong Kong, Australia, Canada, Ireland, United States 7, Denmark, Japan, Estonia, Switzerland, Norway.
So the U.S.
12.
behind Canada. Now it may
That's
not
for
have
economic and social. I mean, my stance is I do consider the U.S. to still be the last bastion of freedom. That's why you live in New Hampshire and not in Canada. Okay, the last domino cannot fall at the U.S. There's no place else we could escape to.
But here's the thing, though. If you put up walls, the less walls you have, and the more freedom people can go, it keeps places free.
Thank you, James. I agree with you on that point. I appreciate your call tonight, man. Appreciate that. Toll-free number 855-450-FREE.
Today, how to incorporate your business in just 10 minutes so you won't lose everything if you get sued. Step 1, stop putting it off. If you're not incorporated and someone sues your business tomorrow, it's not just your business at risk. You can lose everything: your home, your car, even your life savings. Step 2, call the following number for a free 10-minute incorporation guide from Incorporate.com. 1-800-945-1063. They don't provide legal or financial advice. They just make incorporating quick and easy. So you can incorporate or form an LLC in just 10 minutes. That number again is 1-800-945-1063. Step 3, congratulate yourself. By taking just 10 minutes to incorporate your business or form an LLC, you protected your home, your car, and your life savings. And that is how you incorporate your business in just 10 minutes. But hurry while they're still giving away these 10-minute incorporation guides for free. Call 1-800-945-1063. That's 1-800-945-1063.
Honey, I'm really worried about our retirement funds.
Oh, me too. We lost so much value in the recession in the stock market. I'm worried we won't have enough to retire.
Jim next door told me that he had set up a new kind of IRA with the Gold Silver Group. He said how simple and safe it was. It's a private storage IRA, and we could have real gold and silver in our hands.
Really? You mean we can actually see it and touch it?
Absolutely. Jim said we could have all the benefits of an IRA to help build our retirement income. Bottom line, we would own a real tangible asset, and we would have the security of knowing we're protected no matter what the economy does. What do you think?
I think we need to find out how to get our own private storage IRA. We need to call the Gold Silver Group right now.
Are you ready to protect your future? Call 800-687-5416 now to find out how easy and safe it is to set up a private storage IRA with Gold Silver Group. Get up to $995 in free silver on all qualified transactions. Ask how. All transactions have no startup fee, are privately delivered and fully insured. Please call us now. 800-687-5416. 800-687-5416.
Following the announcement of First Communion, The Holy Spookerist, the first hardcore pornographic movie to be filmed in Vatican City since 1982's classic adult feature Pope Fisters 4, Onion reporter spoke to Herschel Savage, director of the film.
It's a huge honor for me and everyone else involved with this film. This is where they shot Pope Fisters 4. I mean, that movie's a masterpiece. Well, when we wrote up the script, we sent it over to the Vatican to get the Pope's approval and see if he had any notes, but he loved it just the way it was.
The highly anticipated pornographic film, which stars Ron Jeremy as the horny see himself, Pope Benedict the 69th, will reportedly contain graphic sex scenes filmed in the Sistine Chapel, St. Peter's Square, and the Pope-mobile, among various other notable sites within the Vatican.
Well, actually, I'm just watching a cut of this amazing scene we shot last night where Pope Benedict is gangbanging a bunch of nuns in his bed, and it was great because the Pope let us use his bedroom. Tomorrow we're shooting the scene where two nuns fuck each other on St. Peter's tomb using strap-on crucifixes. I think people are really going to like this movie.
This is the Onion News Network.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
We've all heard about blockchain assets like Dogecoin, Ether, and Ripple. Bitcoin isn't the only player in the blockchain game any longer. And for those of us wondering how to get our hands on these digital assets, finally, there's a solution. Shapeshift.io allows you to buy and sell between your digital assets and Bitcoin instantly between your own digital wallets. I've used it with ease. Shapeshift.io. There's no account or email address needed. You send them the crypto you want to sell. They send back the crypto you want to buy. It's that easy. Shapeshift.io.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, dial toll free. Get in here in the remaining moments. We've got enough time for you. If you call now, our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Our Skype username is LRN.FM. With you in studio tonight, it's Ian.
It's Vincent.
And Daryl.
If you like this show and you want to help support Free Talk Live, please become a Free Talk Live amplifier. The AMP program allows you to get behind Free Talk Live for $5 a month. We will take that $5 in, invest it into the show, and use it to market and advertise and promote Free Talk Live to get on new radio stations. We're going to have another station coming on board in a decent market, which I'm pretty excited about. I'm not going to break the news yet, but it's going to be 6 nights a week, and they're going to be live for like 2 hours a night, which is awesome. So we'll talk about that soon, hopefully sometime this month.
Nice.
Those things become more possible because of our Free Talk Live listeners who become amplifiers at $5 a month. And you can use any major credit card through PayPal. You can use Visa, MasterCard, and Bitcoin right there on the website at amp.freetalklive.com. Supposedly you can use American Express. No one has tried it yet, at least that I know of. But American Express has been pounding on my door, letting me know, you can take us now, you can take us. All right, well, I don't think anyone really cares. But you can now, supposedly, at amp.freetalklive.com. So sign up there and get access to perks like the AMP-only call-in lines. There's the AMP-only Facebook group where, Vincent, you posted this week one of the threats that you'd received from James Wittekine. So only the amplifiers are getting to see the contents of that James Wittekine threat. So you get special things like that in the AMP group. And also other access like the AMP-only call-in lines, AMP-only podcast.
Ad-free podcast.
Yep, that's correct. Well, except for the ads of like Tipsy Elves that we do on the air. So go to amp.freetalklive.com, amp.freetalklive.com. As we go to the phones, to the fun. In this case, we go to Skype, where we've got Robert on the line. And Robert, you're calling from the interwebs. Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, good, cool. I decided to pull up my old condenser mic and test it out. How does it sound?
Sounds great.
Excellent, yeah.
Cool, excellent. Anyway, got a lot of good topics today, but I did want to first of all mention about the topic that Daryl was speaking about yesterday in regards to copyright. Now, I'm just in the very beginning stages of trying to start up my own business, and at the same time, I am also very opposed to all three versions of intellectual property that you might want to consider, whether it be patents, trademarks, or copyright, especially when it comes to the amount of bullying that large companies use to stamp out the small person that's trying to start out their business, even though that's why supposedly they're supposed to be put in place, is to protect the small person.
And the story, just to catch people up that might not have been listening last night, the story that we were talking about was the U.S. Supreme Court decision in the myriad Apple v. Samsung cases, where Samsung was found to have violated Apple's intellectual property by having a rectangle with rounded corners for their cellular telephone, and then there were two other elements of the phone that were too similar to things that Apple had. The lower court initially said that Samsung had to pay Apple all of the profits. Samsung objected, saying we didn't copy the entirety of the phone, just a couple of elements, and then went to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said, yep, this is a flawed lower court ruling. You should not have to pay all of the profits.
Really?
Send it back to the lower court for them to determine what percentage of profits should wind up going. One of the justices said, quote, unquote, they didn't copy all of the chips and stuff.
Shows how much they actually understand.
Maybe they only copied 1% of the design, so they should only have to pay like 1% of the profits. It's for the lower court to determine what percent was copied.
So that's the thing that I don't like about these kind of laws is the people that are trying to judge the law, they have no idea how technology works in the first place. So how the hell can, excuse me, how the heck can, is hell allowed?
Yeah, it's allowed.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, how
we're
the
still
hell
talking
can
to you,
they
because if
understand?
not, we'd be shouting and dumping your call.
I mean, it becomes ridiculous. I've listened to a lot of talks from people like Rick Falkminga, the head of the Pirate Party, or the original founder of the Swedish Pirate Party.
That's right.
And also Richard Stallman. And one thing that I have always done, because before I tried to start making money with it, I've always been a proponent of a free, open internet. And one of the things that I've always done is whenever I made something, I would always put it out there for free for people to download. And a lot of people, appreciate it. And then comes the constant bugging temptation to, maybe I should keep this part secret, because if I give that out, that means someone else can do it. And then becomes the question of, well, how can you make money if you give out all of your stuff for free? What a
lot of people have started doing is using services like Patreon.
Right.
To where they'll give certain perks to donors.
Which you're doing.
Right.
I do. The Lava Flow podcast does. Brian Sovereign does with Sovereign Tech, to where there's special content that goes to donors, or what I'll do is ad-free versions that wind up going to the people that donate. And then there are other people that they'll do other stuff. Like you get the podcast a day before everybody else does.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to bring up, is Patreon was my answer to that. Kickstarter on a different level if you have a large project. But I actually had one person deny me funding. They were going to give me a small loan to start my business up, and they said, no, we're not going to do that because we don't think that you're going to make any money back. And I said, why not? And he said, because you're giving them all your plans, all your drafts, and all your different schematics for free. I'm like, but that's why I'm so popular, is because people use me as a source of information, and then they buy the product just because they, I believe
that's
in
the other side of it is if you're locking down your content, then you're not hitting as many people as you possibly could.
So I believe in charging for physical matter. I live by a very simple motto in life. It's kind of redundant, but so is everything else. If matter didn't exist, nothing would matter. So on the interwebs, where I'm from, if something does not have material goods, you can't steal it because it's copyable infinitely. It's just like air. You get the picture of Mel Brooks, sniffing the Perrier from Spaceballs. But
I love that.
But if it's material objects, then it's something that can be physically attained, and therefore there is, people say, well, you're charging for your labor, you're charging for your service. I'm like, yeah, but once I've made it, and if it's infinitely copyable, how valuable really is it to keep it to yourself versus share it with everyone, versus a physical piece of, like say the microphone that I'm talking into, it's physical matter. That's where I put my philosophy, is if it's a physical product, I charge. But
that makes sense. I mean, the physical product costs to manufacture.
It's kind of like, Schrodinger's
cat
widget.
Oh.
No, Schrodinger's widget. He created a widget, but it's inside a box. So did he really create a widget?
If you pay, you can find out.
If you can't see the widget and you can't touch the widget, did he create a widget?
And the other thing too that people don't pay attention to is how much overhead are you adding on to your profit margin, taken away from your profit margin, by creating a paywall, by creating all of the safeguards and all of the digital restrictions management that you have to put onto your content to keep it from getting into the hands of people that don't pay for it.
Well, not only that, but then there's also the seen versus unseen of how many people would have downloaded the ebook if it were free versus, it's behind this 99-cent paywall.
And you'll never know.
And then the Mises Institute, they put the ebook version up for free, and then they sell physical copies. And they've actually reported that the sales of physical copies have gone up since they've put the ebook, because people are like, I like this, I want a copy of it.
Right, because inherently I think people know, especially now, that, and I think even Metallica has finally learned this after 15 years, that people know that if they don't support what they like, that it could go away.
Yes.
If there aren't enough people buying a physical copy of media, the Blu-ray or whatever, the book, then eventually those producers are going to say, screw it. People obviously don't value, they want to watch it for free, but they're not willing to send a few bucks in. We're just going to quit. We'll go find something else to do.
And I remember reading about some early musician acts when records were coming out and becoming popular. People were like, I'm not going to make a record, then nobody's going to come see my shows.
Right.
How am I going to make money if nobody comes see me perform?
Oh, that's so funny. I mean, these are old ideas, right? Hey, Robert, good discussion, man. Unfortunately, we're short of time. You got a quick thought? Go ahead.
Oh, that's it. I'll save my question for next time.
All right, I appreciate hearing from you. Right. Yeah, it's an interesting discussion and one that I think we're still transitioning into. And some people, they'll never really get it, and that's okay because different models will probably work for different people. We'll see you tomorrow night online. In the meantime, check out Daryl at libertylobby.xyz. Check out Vincent at offtheairlive.com. And in the meantime, freetalklive.com.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you gotta keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vedati.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
There's no better app for tracking the value of cryptocurrencies than CoinCap. I've had a lot of apps for tracking Bitcoin, but none that's ever been able to track 500 digital assets at once. Their best feature is the Altfolio. I love this thing. You enter how many Bitcoins, Ether, Dash, Doge, or whatever else you have, and it tells you how much your crypto is worth. You can watch yourself get rich. If you have crypto, go right now to coincap.io, or you can use the Apple Store or Google Play to get the app. I love CoinCap. Coincap.io. Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. Facebook.freetalklive.com.
The Freedom Paradox is coming up next, live after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Friday, December 9th, 2016. Silver is trading at $17.05 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,167 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 1 cent, and the average price of Bitcoin is $777. AntiWar.com reports following a vote in the U.S. House of Representatives, the U.S. Senate voted 92-7 on Thursday to pass the 2017 National Defense Authorization Act, the main military spending bill for the next year. This is a compromise version of the bill, which only includes funding for the wars for the early part of 2017, with the assumption that an emergency bill will be passed in early 2017 to pay for the rest of it. This allows Congress to falsely claim that they're only increasing military spending by a few $1 billion over last year, when in practice the total of all of the bills will be a much bigger increase. As with most recent NDAAs, it forbids the closure of the detention center at Guantanamo Bay and also bans the Pentagon from closing military bases it no longer wants. The compromise bill took out 2 key provisions which would have threatened the veto-proof majority it has, one aiming to require women to register for the draft, and another, the Russell Amendment, which would have allowed military contractors to discriminate against people on the basis of gender or sexual orientation. Surviving the final cut was a $160 million outlay to the U.S. State Department to identify and counter Russian propaganda. This program started with an eye towards bolstering independent, read pro-U.S. journalists in Eastern Europe, but has since centered around false Washington Post allegations that a large chunk of America's own independent media, including AntiWar.com, are secretly in league with Russia. The bill now goes to the president for a signature, and while the White House has not taken a formal position, there appears to be no real question that he'll ultimately sign it rather than be overridden for a second time in his final year in office.
For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports Ronald Burt Smith, the man an Alabama jury recommended be sentenced to life in prison 22 years ago for the fatal shooting of a store clerk, was scheduled to be executed on Thursday until the U.S. Supreme Court said it needed more time to review the case. The court issued a temporary stay for Smith on Thursday night. Alabama is the only state in the United States in which a jury can decide to execute someone with a split vote. Alabama law also allows a judge to override the jury's recommendation. Smith's jury recommended he spend the rest of his life in prison with a vote of 7-5, but the trial judge overrode the recommendation and sentenced him to death. In January, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down a law in Florida that allowed judges, not juries, to designate death sentences for defendants in murder cases, citing a 2002 Supreme Court ruling that stated jurors have final say in death sentence cases tried by a jury. Alabama's judges are elected officials, and the Equal Justice Initiative argues judicial overrides increase during election years, suggesting some death sentences could be imposed not because of the facts related to the case, but because judges seek to display themselves as tough on crime during their re-election campaigns. In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake Security Company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. But at what cost? And can anyone stop him? Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports weather forecasters are sending chills down some spines with a prediction that much of the northern half of the United States could see frigid weather next week, similar to a life-threatening lows the polar vortex brought to parts of the country in 2014. The southward shift in the polar vortex in 2014 brought the Midwest some of its coldest weather in 2 decades. Icy conditions snarled travel, and thousands of flights were canceled or delayed. The coldest weather next week is expected in the Midwest and Northeast starting around Tuesday, according to forecasts that show temperatures in the single digits in some cities. It is unclear how far south the cold air will be felt. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
Saying that he has no idea what to make of the mixed signals, area man Pete Summers told reporters today he keeps getting ambiguous text messages from local woman Haley Mueller, claiming that she's not at all interested in him.
One minute she's like, I don't want to go out with you. And then she'll mention how she has to go hang out with her boyfriend. I mean, what am I supposed to do with that?
Summers, who first met Mueller at a friend's party last month, informed reporters that the 27-year-old's increasingly perplexing text messages have left him unable to ascertain whether or not she would want to date him. He also noted that Mueller's behavior at social gatherings was equally vague.
Last weekend, we were at a party, and every time I would go up to her, she just said, "Leave me alone." Then I text her the next day, and she totally doesn't even respond. I mean, she just needs to make up her mind and tell me what she wants. She hasn't answered my last 3 phone calls, so maybe I should go over there and make sure everything's okay.
This is the Onion News Network.
Surprise for everybody tonight. If you are listening to us on the LRN.FM app or anywhere else other than Facebook, I want you to get over to our Facebook page because we did some major tech work this past week
Hopefully it's all going to work out.
And hopefully it's all going to work. And we want you to watch live, to watch all the tech issues that we have to face. But we're going to get this thing working with video. We have a special surprise with video today. But my name is Severin Freeman. So while Niz gets the video set up, Matt, what's up? You got some announcements for us?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I want to say is this week's episode of Freedom Paradox is brought to you by the anti-establishment.com. The Freedom Paradox is a BIPCOT no-license show, which means that you are able to distribute this however you see fit, so long as you are not a government agent or entity. If you are a government agent or entity and are found distributing the Freedom Paradox, you are at the mercy of the internet. Now, the Freedom Paradox can be found on LRN.FM or streaming live as well over IPM Nation and on Facebook. And hopefully, I'm talking to you live on Facebook right now.
Yeah. Hey, you know what I just realized is we have our entire show being recorded by Niz, so we need to hold off for a second. And Niz, are you all right?
This will not initiate the stream, man. Keep telling me it's offline. OBS says it's streaming.
All right.
I can record anyway. It's okay. I'll just start recording it.
What I did was I went in and opened up the same. You cannot hear Niz, can you?
Yeah, I can talk.
Yeah.
Talking now. Check.
See, it's always going to plague us.
Niz, you are super low apparently for not your Skype.
Sorry, everybody out there. You know, this is something we run into every week.
And we're trying something new here. We have a legitimate excuse this week. I just heard on my headset Ian saying that you are super low. So what you got to do is
heard that as well.
Turn up your gain.
How's that better?
Yes, better, much better. He said.
All
right. So why don't you, while me and Matt talk for a minute, Niz, why don't you go grab that stream key again and try to do that again. Stop the stream, grab the new key, and then start again. Just start from scratch.
Yep. Doing it.
So we have lots of stories tonight. While we're doing that, Matt, did you have anything that you needed to say before we launch into what we're going to get into tonight?
No, you know, I've had a pretty calm week. You know, done some writing over there. If you guys want to pop over and see that, you can head on over to thefreedomparadox.org. There's a couple decent, juicy stories there. One about how social media is being basically transformed to cooperate with AIs. And then one that I did just a little bit earlier, which Severin, did you actually read that?
Which one?
The last one I put up.
No, I didn't, honestly.
Oh.
I was actually putting up two of my own today.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and I have a third I have to put up. So as everybody can hear, we haven't had stories up in the last several days because it's been a slow week and we've been busy. But today it was just so heavy in the news, one story after another. My local news, I was like, I got to get in front of the computer. What am I doing? We have it's just me and Matt both left and right. We couldn't stop writing stories today. It was just
I'm looking at it right here. You know, we've got social media being controlled by the AI. All activist media under attack is a different story. You've got toasters break the internet.
That's a true story. That is not satire. There's nothing on the freedomparadox.org that's satire. We might use a funny headline to tell you what the story is about, but the story is true. The story is
true. It is absolutely true. And I mean, we've covered it on this show before when we've talked about the Internet of Things. And this is just goes deeper into that and actually shows you how this has been used